just a brief introduction to the event. So now everybody's kind of doing like video, audio, lighting all separately, and we're all trying to combine all the skills together, which is obviously a little bit tricky because usually one good lighting is a little bit harder to catch up to another, which is why we St. Music is holding this event to try and consolidate all forms of aspects of the whole thing, so that all of us have exposure and learn about the thing. So, okay, so St. Music 3.0, we are, obviously when you hear the name St. Music, you think of music, which is a little bit niche. So after the COVID of 2020, we have started doing a little bit more live streams and stuff. So we did, back then we started simple, just aim on webcam, aim at stuff, which I was included. So we did a little bit of packing stuff and engage audience stuff. Because it's COVID, people want to talk to somebody, we got quite a bit of engagement with people. It kind of gave us the encouragement to carry on from there. Before that, we barely did anything similar at all, which I assume is kind of similar to all of your experience right now, depending on your level. So we started out doing primarily just audio stuff, which is what we're known for. And then afterwards, slowly, the bosses and everybody started making more friends with people of other industries such as these two. So Blackmagic will be the first one up. So they'll be talking about the cameras and stuff and how to do like shoots and stuff. After that will be me. Then we also have friends at Aputure Amaran. So he'll be talking about lighting. He'll be talking about like how to do lights. Then since 2021, 2022, even more so, especially since we moved here from Peace Center, we have been supporting and hosting quite a bit of events that encompasses everything as well. So there was also the skate podcast competition, which we were sponsoring. We have also had friends at MEVOX, MEAVOX. So they were also the host of the Asia Podcast Festival that took place a little bit earlier this year. So, and then of course we have Ralph Squad, and then Near Body. So everyone, apparently there is a big group of people, as you can see around you, left and right. We're getting more and more into all this, but again, it's always good to have a place to learn, a place to meet new people, a place to like discuss what you want to do, hang out, collaborate, which is why we are here. So, without talking much else about us, we will have Blackmagic will come up first, so they will talk about video of the thing, right? So give them round.
Thank you, team. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Russell from Blackmagic Design. First of all, really thank all of you for making your way here, despite the rain. Right? So it's a very good space for us to come here to conduct such a workshop. And the fact that all of you brave the rain and the location to come over here means that we are here to learn something. Hopefully today we can deliver what you set out in the agenda. Alright. So first of all, just to get to know all of you better. Today, before that, today we're going to talk about something like multi-camera production. So how many of you have already embarked on multi-camera production for your company? Okay, so you'll hear more from the audio. Hopefully we can share something. For the rest of you, are you a little bit interested in multi-camera production? You're somehow segregated already. Yes, one no. Alright, so hopefully touch on some points. Feel free to ask any questions that you might have, or we hope to debunk any myth that you might have over multi-camera production. So first of all, let me just introduce you about who we are, Blackmagic Design. Those who have not heard of, how many of you have not heard of us before? Blackmagic. Not heard of us. Oh, not bad. That means more of you. So what do you know about us?
Use the DaVinci Resolve.
It's DaVinci Resolve. How many DaVinci Resolve users out there? How many Blackmagic Design cameras users? Camera user. Oh, jialat. How many A-Time switcher users? City Music, no need. A-Time. Wow, also very little. Okay, positive thinking potential. negative thinking. Marketing didn't do good enough. Still room for improvement. Okay, so Blackmagic Design, we are from HQ is from Australia. All right, so we have been around in the market for about 23 years, incorporated in the year 2000. So I think I won't go too much into how we develop, but the most important thing is that in Blackmagic Design, our vision is to empower creativity. Okay, big words, but what it means. What we really want to do is to empower creative content creators like all of you here. What do we mean by empower? Okay, by putting technology in your hands, by making technology affordable to content creators. Because our founder, Grant Petty, why he started the company is really because he feels that technology should not be too out of reach of creative people. If it's too expensive, nobody use it. That means people who have access to it will dominate the market. That's not right in his own vision, which is why we set up to try to do things different from the industry. What we are trying to do, what we have been trying to do is to bring broadcast quality to the masses. That means every one of you, as long as you are willing to learn, you have access to technology that is broadcast level, broadcast quality. From when we are young, we watch TVs, all right? So a lot of things that only TV station have access last time, now is readily available in the market, which is where Blackmagic comes into place, all right? So those who raised out your hand earlier, the DaVinci Resolve users would have appreciated how much this software have done for you, hopefully, all right? We are putting a Hollywood quality tool in the hands of all of you here. So there's no excuse not to do well. Now you have access to the same tools that the top professionals are using. So how you do depends on yourself, all right? So that's the vision of the company of Blackmagic Design. So today's agenda, we are here to kind of like a workshop, not so much of product basis. It's really to show you the world of multi-camera live production. All right, so Blackmagic Design have a wide range of 14 product categories, but we kind of focus on this live production side, where we're going to teach you and show you how multi-camera production plays a part in producing better content. Of course, now at this social media age, a lot of people with just one handphone, can produce content, which is normal. But how having different cameras, more than one cameras, will kind of make a difference, especially if you are into podcasts and things like this. So that's what we'll be going through with you. All right. So today's session is introduced by the first Timothy from City Music. That there will be we will start off with video, followed by audio, and we will end off with lighting from Aputure. And the Blackmagic Design team will be here. All right. After the session, if you have questions, we will still be around. You can chat with us later on. All right. So today, the Blackmagic team, we have quite a big team. We have Xiaowei from there, and thank you. We have another Timothy. This is the video Timothy. Okay. He'll be the main speaker later on. Yeah. And we have Erwin, who somehow is not wearing our shirt, but he's from Blackmagic. And we have a guest from hiding there, from Cambodia. Okay, he's our Cambodian partner who's here, kind of like internship with our company. So he's here. So he's quite knowledgeable as well. Yeah. So speaks quite good English and Chinese and Mandarin as well. So can feel free to approach him. Quite cute also. Yeah. So. All right, so without further ado, for our session, we have about 45 minutes, but please feel free to ask questions. We can afford to drag on, all right, today. All right, so without further ado, let's have Timothy to showcase.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Timothy. I'm the second Timothy. I don't know how y'all gonna differentiate me and the other Timothy apart. Somehow, you can call me video team, Blackmagic team, doesn't really matter. But yeah, so today we're gonna be looking at, very importantly, I think one of the things that is not usually covered by sessions that I do is the why should we do this in the first place, right? I mean, let's think about it, right? Why should we go into live production in the first place? All these things, to put different cameras all together, to put graphics, to go live streaming, internet connections, blah, blah, blah. They take time, they take money, they take effort. It's either you're going to have a lot of people or you're going to have one very stressed out person doing all these things by themselves, right? I see people smiling, nodding their heads, like, I'm the stressed out one. So why should we even do this in the first place? The answer to that kind of lies in how we as human beings perceive the world. Okay, I want you all to do something for me right now, right? Everyone just don't mind those who are looking down, just look up for a bit, right? Look at me. Look at this face here, all right? All stare at my face. Just stare. And I want you to stare at my face. This point, do not blink, do not look anywhere else for the next 45 minutes. People are laughing already, right? Who is going to do that? That's ridiculous. No one's going to do that. And to be very honest, it's not just you, all right? It is by scientific definition ridiculous because the average human attention span in 2015, anyone want to take a guess? Shout out a number. 10, 2, okay. It's about, we have a technical difficulty. There we go. It's about 8 seconds per thing that you need to do, right? Before you start getting distracted with stuff. And in case you are, you're like, Tim, where do you get this from? All the references are in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You can see my reference list later on. It's kind of like an academic paper. But basically, human attention spans have been going down, right? Since things like these came along, we've been getting less and less focused on stuff. It's very hard to maintain your attention span. And the average attention span, just you sitting down here and looking at me, is about 8 minutes. All right, so I've got a heck of a job to do because in 8 minutes I need to get all this stuff because after that you're going to switch off. According to science, all right. Now, if you were wondering how does this translate into video, right? If you're a content creator in video, the average viewing time of online videos these days is about 50 seconds, just under 50 seconds, all right? Thanks to things like Vine, TikTok, stuff like that. People's attention spans are getting shorter. So how are we going to hold their attention spans? It's already hard enough for you guys here, right? Especially kind of just after lunch, right? It's really difficult. But your brain, every one of our brains has this thing that we do. When we are in a space, we are embedded in the space, like what y'all are doing now. Your eyes are not going to stay in one spot. You're going to look at me, you're going to check out the camera, you're going to look at my phone, you're going to look at the lights, you're going to look at the Martin & Co. sign over there. You're going to be looking at all sorts of different things. Why? Because your brain cannot handle just looking at one thing for 45 minutes. It has to give itself breaks in order to maintain some level of attention, right? But imagine you are watching this on a screen, like our dear friends who are watching this on the live stream right now. You do not have the luxury of looking around, right? You have this. You have to look at the whole screen, and that's all you have, that one point in space. Now, it gets even worse. Why? Because most of the time, people are going to be watching this not on a big TV screen, right? They're going to be watching this on a small, little, tiny device that they may be bringing around outside. 4G, 5G internet is really quick these days. So we may be watching this with a lot of things trying to get our attention, and it's very, very distracting. So you can imagine if you are like, going on the MRT or the bus or, just outside, and you have people yelling and screaming at you, and you're trying to focus on this presentation that this weird guy called Tim is talking to you about, it's very difficult. So, as a result, if we're going to do an event like this, or if we want to be able to catch and hold people's attention, we as creators need to control the experience. And then people are going to be like, ooh, this is so 1984. We have to control the people's experience. Unfortunately, it's true. Why? Because they only have a limited viewpoint. That's all they have, the screen, nothing else, right? So we have to do things like provide the visual breaks that I was talking about earlier, right? Even right now when you're looking at this monitor that's to the right of me, you notice how we've been changing the viewpoints every once in a while, right? You can see how in our podcast set, ooh, where did my podcast guest go to? He's kind of disappeared, but that's okay. So you can imagine if this was a podcast set, I'll just stand in for him, that's fine. You can imagine if this is a podcaster host guy, right? We can, if let's say he's going to be saying something, right? We can go over to his camera angle. He can talk about stuff, right? Don't look so sian now, brother. But yeah, we can talk about stuff. We can go to a mid shot where we can see context of the both of us. If let's say I'm talking, I need to say something to camera. This is really, really important. You need to take note of this. Buy one, get one free. City Music, something, maybe. Anyway, yeah, and we can do that sort of a thing with the equipment that we have here, which we'll talk about a little bit further in today's presentation. But, you know, not just switching camera angles around. That's not all there is to it. You'll find when you watch TV especially, whether it's F1 or whether it's watching Parliament. Anyone here watches the live stream of Parliament? Okay, I assume not many people, but that's fine. But you will see how they not only bring in different angles, but they also bring in things that help you understand what's going on. Things like, you know, the bar that tells you who is talking, like this one. You know, the lower thirds, like that one. Okay, I'm not Russell, by the way. But this was, at this point, just behind the scenes, it was supposed to be, Russell was supposed to be sitting there, and they were supposed to have the name there. But you get the idea, right? We can put graphics like that. If we need to illustrate what we're talking about, let me just make sure I get into the correct position for this. We can bring in things like other graphical aids, like videos and stuff like that, animate it in, to illustrate what it is I'm talking about. All right? If let's say I was talking about a training session that we run, this is not actually a training session that we ran, but you know, if training session that we ran, it was awesome, it was great, people learned a lot of stuff. It looks like we were training ex-cons, but that wasn't what happened. Yeah, and so, you know, this was really great and awesome, and we can bring it out of frame right now, and you all can focus back on me once more, right? We can do that sort of stuff, which makes the video more engaging than just that, right? Excuse me, I just got COVID not too long ago, so I'm negative now for a long time, but in case you're wondering why I keep scratching my throat, that's why. So yeah, you can see how it's a lot, well, it's not going to be a lot easier, but it's just that much easier when we keep things vibrant on screen, and also what you hear through the use of different camera angles, giving you visual breaks, through the use of graphical aids. But the picture is not everything, and we need to make sure that we also have a good audio mix, right? And my audio mix, no worries, that's fine. So we need to have a good audio mix as well, because if you can't really hear me that well, your attention is also gonna drop, right? So we want to make sure that our audio is clear. Later the guys from City Music will be talking more about this as well. And obviously we need some level of lighting, otherwise just like us, your cameras are not going to be able to see a thing, right? And Jimmy from Aputure will talk about that a little bit later on. Now, other than just making things a little bit more dynamic for the sake of maintaining focus, which is what we've been talking about quite a bit, we also want to improve our engagement with the audience by making the emotional experience just that more vivid, that much more dynamic. What do I mean by that? Anyone here watches sports? Any sports by chance? Anyone? Yes, couple here and there. A lot of times when I do we have a internal course called Introduction to Live Production. A lot of times when I ask people, what do you think the purpose of sports TV is? And then the answer is, to show you what happened now, right? But in actual fact, the purpose of sports TV is to kind of make fans be somewhat there, right? To focus on their favorite driver, their favorite team, their favorite rider, so on and so forth. And you'll notice that the way that things are being covered kind of piques your interest. It makes you want to stay on the channel. Things like, if you ever notice instant replays, you notice why it's kind of, if you think about it rationally, it's a bit dumb, right? You just saw the thing happen, and then they show the same thing again at different angles, sometimes in slow motion, as if we didn't see it the first time, right? But the reason why they actually do that is to make you excited, because that's the winning goal, or the cross the line first and stuff like that. So we can improve the emotional engagement with our audiences by things such as shot sizing. So for example, the shot from the camera right in the center there, the one that's right in front of me, right, the one that's right in front of me, there we go, is kind of wide, right? This gives you context as to what's going on. But if I were to bring the shot to that one over there, which is a lot closer, it kind of is a little bit more intimate as long as I'm on screen, right? If you were to watch me at this sort of a range, it's a bit creepy, I know, but you know, if you want to bring people much closer to someone else, that's what you do, right? And we not only do this with camera angles, we also do this with movement, where we move the camera in certain ways. If you've ever watched things like NDP or like concerts, Taylor Swift concerts, whatever concerts have you, you'll notice that a lot of the camera movements tend to be very wide, very sweeping, because there's just something about looking at an image that is moving that kind of makes us excited about what's going on, especially fast, broad, sweeping movements, right? But in addition to just all the camera work, we can also use things like lighting to help us generate or create a mood in the picture that we're seeing. In fact, if you look behind me right now, obviously we do not need to put blue and yellow there like that, right? I mean, we wouldn't usually do that in our own houses. Sometimes people just put one light, bam, there we go. There's light. But when we introduce color, we introduce emotion into the scene, and also the quality of the light affects what sort of mood we are going to put into the scene. If you've been to something like a nightclub or a bar, you're going to notice that the lighting is a certain way. If you've been to, like, I don't know, a government office, the lighting is a certain way, it makes you feel a certain way. So that's why we put all these things together to sort of engage people more, keep the focus more, just a little bit longer, just as long as we can. And we want to maintain the emotional engagement so that they will come back, right? If you're someone like me, people find me sometimes a bit dull, a bit boring, because I'm very dry, very emotionless, always talking about data and facts and numbers. But how you get people to stay and watch you again is by engaging the emotion, right? I'm sure every one of us remembers, who's Mario? Every one of us remembers something happy in our lives, right? And you think about it and you can remember it very, very vividly. The same thing as something that's very sad or something that made us angry. We remember those things a lot better than potentially what I'm telling you right now, right? Because this is kind of dry. But the stuff that really matters to us are the stuff that is emotional, and that's what keeps people coming back. And so all this technology is not going to obviously create the emotion. If the fella standing in front of the screen is really dull and boring, there's not much a camera can do or the lights can do. But if you can have someone preferably more engaging than myself, combined with the cameras, combined with the all the switching and the graphics and the lighting and all that sort of stuff, you stand a much better chance of your audience coming back. Right? The content is still king, but we can help that content along by putting all these things together. All right? So now, you may be wondering at this point, Tim, great. Whatever you said, that's awesome. But it seems very complicated. does it have to be very complicated? You know, just now you saw the graphics with the lights. It's like, ooh, this is like TV station material, right? I don't have 10 million bucks to spend on all this stuff. Does this have to be complicated? And the simple answer is, we need to understand what we are trying to do, and then we fulfill that with the equipment. Okay, so first thing first, we want to enhance audience engagement and retention. This kind of sounds like a very boring school seminar, but anyway, let's look at what this thing entails. Right, we have two things that we want to do. Right, the first of which is we want to retain the audience through emotion. Actually, that was the second thing I talked about. This is the animation is slightly in the wrong order, but that's fine. And the next thing we want to do is we want to maintain the focus by creating a conducive viewing environment for people to watch things in. And also we help them understand what's going on by means of graphics and other things. So if we were to break it down into tasks, right, it kind of looks like that. At the very base, we have our visual breaks, then we have our graphical aids, then we have our audio mix, shot sizing, lighting, color, and so on. Now, the most basic thing that needs to be done would be the stuff here, right? And if we have more bandwidth, we have more resources, we can move on to the emotional stuff, right? You can see this in things like Parliament live feeds. It's just doing this. Right, we have visual breaks. We sometimes switch around to show different things that are going on. There are different graphical aids when people take a vote or who is speaking. You'll see the lower thirds come up there. And ooh, what happened there? And the audio mix as well is usually very clear, usually. So if we have more resources, we can put in things like shot sizing. We can get camera operators to actually stand behind the cameras and manipulate the shot sizes to give you a wide shot, mid shot, close-up shot, like what we showed just now. We can bring in more lighting, more color, and stuff like that. And here is a very quick sort of diagram of how we can achieve that. All right, let's look at visual breaks. So in visual breaks, we need multiple cameras, kind of like what we see here. Right? So this example has got nothing to do with what you see here. Right? Just bear that in mind. So we need multiple cameras. We could have several of what we call the studio cameras. And then we also need a piece of equipment to actually choose what it is we are going to see. All right, and that piece of equipment is known as a vision mixer, otherwise known as a video switcher. If we're talking about Blackmagic design, if you hear the word ATEM, A-T-E-M, please don't ask me what it stands for. I have no idea. ATEM, it's just a name. That is our line of vision mixers. That is the thing that we actually press the buttons on to choose what we get to see, kind of like what Erwin is doing there at the back. As you can see, as he presses buttons there, the view on the screen here changes, right? I realize also he likes to crossfade between things. Okay, so we have our vision mixer, and then we need to link everything up, and from the vision mixer, we can then, sometimes through other equipment, we can send our stream out to the internet, or we can record down what the show is supposed to be, right? So if we move on to our graphical aids section, right, we have our cameras, we have our vision mixer, kind of like what we're doing right now. We can just put in any old laptop, send the feed by HDMI. In fact, that's exactly how you are seeing all these graphics on screen right now. We have for those sitting in the front row, you can probably see it, a MacBook Pro right beside Erwin. There's no camera to catch that. But yeah, there's a MacBook Pro hiding behind there. They're sending a feed with my keynote into the mixer. It's as simple as that. You don't need anything fancy and complicated. Back to the thing, please. Thank you. And so we have that feed going in, and finally we have the audio mix, right? And so the audio mix, any run-of-the-mill microphone, 3.5mm, 1/4 inch, stuff like that will work. You don't need really fancy stuff as long as the mic is decent and it's sufficiently close to your talent, which it wasn't just now, I know. Xiaowei was at the back there cueing me, please put the mic closer. That's pretty much it. That's all done right there. Right? And you can see how it's really not that complicated. If you want to make it like a TV station, sure, you can. But it doesn't have to be. not today, right? So if I wanted to talk about just the basic equipment, and if you want to know rough pricing, right? I'll be very honest here. I have a confession to make. I'm a tech guy, right? I'm more of a tech guy. Ask me prices, I go blank. That's Russell's job. He can tell you all about pricing and stuff like that. But I'll do my best, right? Just to give you a rough idea of what it's going to cost. So if we look at like a basic podcasting setup, like what we have here, something like what we have here. If we were to look at the chart, or the graph, or the table, excuse me, fulfilling each purpose, we start with our visual breaks. All right, we have, what I've listed here is our Pocket Cinema 4K Pro, which is sitting over there. This kind of a thing, this kind of a camera right here. All right. And then we have an A10 Mini Pro, which is what City Music is using at the back, actually. Very similar to the one we have here. Right, small, little, tiny device. Sets up in 5 minutes and you're good to go. And also you have your lighting. You need some lights, again, otherwise your camera can't see nuts. And that's where Jimmy's section will come in later to talk about lighting. All right. And yeah, so that's just about visual breaks. And then you talk about graphical aids. You know, you can just get a iPad or a laptop or something of the sort. And finally, we have our audio mix, and then you have audio sources such as microphones that you can plug in either to the cameras or directly into the switcher and mix that all down together for your program. Now, if you're telling me, Tim, that's fine, but that's too basic for me. Right? I need a little bit more. I want to bring in the other elements, the emotional engagement stuff. Well, we can. It'll just look. Oh, sorry, I forgot to bring up the grand total there. We can bring up the level of operation a little bit more. So if we were to look at enhanced podcast equipment, sorry, if it sounds very government, I do apologize, right? But yeah, if you need more equipment, you can be looking at, again, things like our Pocket Cinema Camera 6K G2, which is at the back, I believe, right? The camera that's sitting at the back over there. Again, another ATEM, right? We have our graphical aid, same thing, right? We're not going to make things too complicated. We have our audio mix, same thing. We're not going to overcomplicate things, but we need to bring in additional things like our shot sizing equipment, things that help your camera operators maintain a zoom level or focus level. Our lighting and color, more lights this time because we need to put in, you know, additional colors like what we have at the back. So that requires more lights. And we now include movement into our shots by using things like a crane or, you know, a slider or stuff like that. Or even the gimbal that was floating around earlier, taking shots of us just now. Stuff like that, right? And it comes up to something around that price. For those of you who are taking pictures, sure, but don't use this as reference for your purchasing decisions, right? I just got to get that out there, make sure we're all clear, all right? So yeah, and if it sounds like a lot, and I know it's not a small amount, but think about this, just 10 years ago, 20 years, no, not 20 years ago, but just 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you'll be looking at probably, correct me on this, but you're probably looking at something along the lines of, in TV station, probably more than that, 30, 40 grand per camera chain, plus your switcher, another 50, 80 grand, plus your playback equipment, plus your CG, plus all the other stuff. Probably, 150, 200, 300, half mil, just about 10 years ago. So imagine all the stuff that you are looking at here that you can get for less than 5 figures. It used to be in the domain of $500,000 or more, right? So kind of like what Russell said, we want to lower the barrier to entry, right? We understand that it's a little bit intimidating sometimes, right? To look at all this stuff and, you know, the lights flashing everywhere and it goes, ooh, I don't know whether I can do this. The point is you can. If you have the content that you know this sort of a format works, you can, right? It's a lot more accessible than what it used to be, all right? So yeah, that pretty much concludes this part of the presentation. But before I go, I just want to let you guys know about something new that we've just come up with, which I think will be very helpful, even if you're not doing stuff live, if you're doing stuff for just recording and stuff like that. It will be something that I think will be very, very useful. And for this, can I ask Erwin to loan me your phone? Yeah. Because what we just launched recently was something called the Blackmagic camera app. I'm not Steve Jobs, by the way. But yeah, so the Blackmagic camera app is basically, we're going to try to put it up on screen here, and Xiao is going to try to pull focus very nicely there, is an app that basically supercharges your phone with more manual controls over your image, right? And I'm going to try right now with my 2 hands to do 3 hands worth of work. All right, just to give you all a little intro as to what this app is all about. And by the way, it's free, so you don't, costing is not going to be a factor in this. So this is going to be a bit awkward here, but let's try, right? So you have, if you look at this screen, it's pretty much the same interface as what you would get with our cameras. In fact, if you're looking at like the camera Xiao is operating, or even the cameras back there, you're going to notice that you have the same menu, all these options here. You have your time code. I'm going to just use the mic to point at stuff. Time code, you have your battery level, you have your shutter speed, ISO, white balance. These are all professional level controls that you can access on your phone now, instead of having to buy really expensive cameras. By the way, the reason why I had to ask Erwin for his phone is because our friend recently got an iPhone 15, so I can show more stuff rather than my pitiful iPhone 11. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. We should probably get a new iPhone. But yeah, so if I wanted to do things like rack focus, I'm gonna try to move out of the speaker a little bit. If I wanted to rack focus, just give me a sec here. If I wanted to do things like pull focus, the cinematic, things are from out of focus, we're going to bring them into focus, stuff like that. I can do that. I can even monitor my audio. I can choose which audio source I'm going to get. I can do things. If you are, any cameramen here? Camera guys? Camera operators? Yes? Right? I'm sure you all appreciate your overlays, right, on your shooting screen. So we actually do have all the different overlays, things like zebras, right? Zebras, where's my zebras? There we go. The zebras. We have our focus assist. Sorry, let me just turn it off first. We have our focus assist, our red focus assist. Just turn it up. There we go. All right. We have things like our frame guides, our thirds, our center markers, and so on. We even have, these are the other frame guides. We even have false color, right? For all the cam ops, yes, we have false color on the camera. And we also, if you have a lookup table, you can actually apply the lookup table to your monitor. So this really helps with things like lighting for those of us who are at that level of shooting. All right. And we can record in a variety of different codecs, from the very compressed H.264, H.265, all the way up to Apple ProRes. And we can even choose things like resolution, right? 4K, 30p, 720p. And our color space, if you need to shoot something in high dynamic range and stuff like that, it is possible. And yes, iPhone 15 supports Apple Lock, so you can shoot in Apple Lock with the iPhone 15. And so we have more and more functions in here that I'm not going to go through right now. The point of this is you now have a professional, a camera app that allows you to access professional controls on your phone for free. All right. And what's even more, if you're talking about in the context of live work, what's even more interesting is we have an option in here called HDMI clean feed. So if you plug in an adapter to an HDMI cable, or if you AirPlay out, you will get a clean feed, a clean video feed going to wherever it is. So yes, it could become a very cheap camera that you can put on the tripod instead of any of the cameras that you see here. Obviously, you won't get some functions that you get with the cameras there, but the point is that it is possible, and we're trying to lower the barrier to entry so that you guys can create the content that you want without having to worry so much about the gear that helps you, the tools that help you get it done. All right? So, that's pretty much it for me. Anyone has any questions at this time? Yes, sir. It's for iOS only. iOS only. Yep. Any others? Yes, sir. Yes, iPad is supported as well, but check when you go to the App Store because there's some hardware and software requirements on the iPad. It needs to be above a certain level, then you'll be able to download it. I cannot recall off the top of my head. But yeah, if you go to the App Store, it will tell you whether or not it will work on your device. Yeah. Anyone else? Last call. No? All right. If not, thank you very much. Hopefully that helped a little bit, and I will hand it back off to Tim. Behind you. Awesome. Behind me. Thanks.
Okay, so thanks Tim from Blackmagic. So that was the video component of today's 3-part event. Give me a slight moment to prepare for my site. Hang on, double duty. Where is my slide? Yep. Okay, so yeah, let me just. Am I done already? Hey Ken, thank you. Wait, later. Okay, so hello, welcome back. Commercial break. Very fast. So again today, now I'm here to talk to you about the audio component of the whole thing. Just a show of hands, anyone here have any specific thing they want to get into about audio before I begin? Because my side is going to be a little bit more general, in-depth, but also general. So if there's any like burning questions anyone has, you maybe want to bring it up now and see if I can address it. Because if not, maybe after the whole thing can approach any of the city music stuff, we're all wearing the t-shirt lah. So got any burning question, can ask that. I kind of forgot I need the laptop. Okay, never mind. Can you help me do the laptop? So when I say next slide, just press the arrow.
The right arrow, yeah.
No, not this. The laptop. Yeah, okay. When I say next slide, then you press. Okay. So if there are no important questions, just a slight introduction. So obviously, my name is Timothy. I am a staff of City Music. I've been here for about 6 years now. So from P-Center until now, pre-COVID, post-COVID, a lot of things have changed. I've had to learn a lot of things. This guy also. That's Lionel. Yeah, so amongst all the stuff here, we've had to go from just audio to like how to integrate audio into like video stuff, which I guess be it live or be it post, all of us are doing in a way or another something related to that lah. So I've also been an intern. When I was an intern, I did a lot of live stuff as well. So imagine all this, but like big scale. I wasn't in charge of it, obviously, but I was involved in it somehow or another. And things are really getting more and more expensive, and things are getting bigger and bigger. So some things change, but some things stay the same, which is what I'm going to talk about today. Next slide. So whenever we talk about audio, me personally, I try to keep things simple. Something that goes in must come out. So you have a source. You need a source of sound, be it your speaker, your presenter, a musician, sound effects, background music, whichever. There has to be something. There has to be a sound in order for you to care about sound. So that's obvious. You need a mixer or interface, or a recorder. Essentially, you need something that helps you record, which again goes without saying is necessary to record sound. And then a monitoring tool, because our human ears, while we as proud as we are of them, sometimes we need help, and that is where headphones and stuff come in. The things that before you begin any sound project, be it editing, recording, playing, you need to know how many sources are there as well. So if you need to record, I don't know, 8 things at once, obviously you're gonna need 8 microphones. You can get away with more, you can get away with less, but again, you need to know exactly how many you're in charge of. What are types of sources? Human voice, someone shouting, someone whispering, some ASMR thing. I don't know. I mean, some ASMR content creators here, raise your hand. I want to follow. And also your recording environment. Are you recording in the studio? Are you recording in nature? Are you recording in a noisy environment, a bit shopping center, the atrium of Takashimaya for some reason? All that kind of thing, because all these play a part in how you record. You may think that, oh, if I buy this really expensive thing, it can help give me the best sound possible. Sure, but it kind of depends on where you're recording as well. If you're buying a very sensitive microphone which can give you all the details you want, but you're in an extremely noisy environment, that is not going to pick up your voice at all, unless you are the loudest source nearest to the mic. So these are things you need to consider. This is my extremely childish, but I believe simple infographic. Obviously, you're going to need a sound source, so it starts from all the way from the left, and then follow the arrow, it goes into the mixer audio interface, and that's the smaller arrow, that's where you're listening. So technically, it's also an output, but you are the one listening. And then at the end of it, you'll be your audience. So that I believe for all of us here is the most important thing, because whatever we do is for someone else to see just now and someone else to hear. If no one hears you, what are you actually doing? You know what I mean? So you gotta consider your audience as well, how they're hearing. Are they listening to you on smartphones? Are they listening to you on expensive speakers, TV screens, or I don't know, earpiece or whatever? That is what you need to consider, because you can have the best sound on your end. If your audience don't have the best equipment to hear you, half of the battle is kind of lost. So you need to consider that. Okay, so again, this is why I asked whether or not anyone got any specific questions, because these are general common terms that we use in audio. We have gain. Anyone wants to know what gain is or don't know what gain is? Everybody clear? Okay, yeah? Okay. It's essentially the amount of power added to increase the sensitivity. So there are some people who confuse gain and volume. Gain is also used in other aspects, but in audio, gain is a separate thing from volume. It plays a part, but it's not the same thing. So if you increase the gain but you reduce the volume on, let's say, a mixer or whatever, all you're doing is increasing sensitivity. So you will hear what your mics hear at its most sensitive, but at most at a lower volume, but it's still there. So it's present. When you bump up your volume in the end in editing or what, you will hear it. On the other hand, if your gain isn't super high, but your volume is high, you will hear what the mic hears, but obviously less sensitive. So your source has to be very near your mic, because otherwise you're not picking up anything at all. XLR cables, 1/4 inch, 3.5 mm. I guess most of you know what it looks like or what they are. The only confusing thing is people tend to, especially if you guys are new, you want to buy like something small because you don't want to take up space or anything. So you buy like a microphone that comes with a 3.5 mm jack, which is the small headphone size thing. Not the best connectors. It will get you there at the start, but not the best connector in terms of stability and audio quality. Even if you buy like a $2,000 gold, solid gold connector, it's not the best in professional use. Dynamic condenser microphones, I'll get into it a little bit more, but in general, in audio, there are only 2 mics that you ever need to worry about: dynamic and condenser. They do different things. They sound different. The one I'm holding right now is a dynamic mic. Why I'm not using a condenser? Because the condenser is going to pick up everything you hear in the room. The lights have sound. Your ears are sensitive enough. My breath can be louder. So I don't want that, so I'm going to use a dynamic. If you want to give it a try later, I will hopefully invite some of you up to try on our DLZ thing, so you can give it a try, the difference. Phantom power is extra power to condenser mics. If you are not using a condenser mic, you never have to worry about it. But if you are, let's say in the studio, you want to record someone singing, again, some ASMR thing, something that requires low volume, you will be better off using a condenser mic, in which case you will need phantom power. Combo jacks are things that you plug into. If you ever look at a mixer, if you have a chance to look at a mixer, we have a lot of mixers behind all of you as well. There are different points of entry, and they do the same thing. Basically, just see what you plug into only. Audio interface and mixers, again, I'll get into them later. These are things that allows you to record your sound. Yeah. So more terms, we have DI boxes, closed back, open back headphones, effects, pop filters, sense and return, fader knobs, and monitor speakers. Yeah. Anyone who needs clarification on the terms? Nope. Okay, next. So, I believe all of you instinctively know what is good audio, what is bad audio. So I don't think I need too much clarification, but just for the sake of it, good audio requires a person to be able to hear everything. Your audience can hear everything that you want them to hear. So things have to be clear. Because I am in this line, so we have a lot of customers who don't really know. They come in, they say, oh, I want the bassier sound, I want the strong sound. But any of the day, what they're listening from are either cheap headphones or like just things that are not suitable. So when they add bass, all they're doing is adding mud. So you can't really hear what they want to say as well. It's like hearing the gust of wind without actually hearing the wind sound. You're hearing nothing. No offensive frequencies. So when I say offensive frequencies, I mean like feedback or the high pitch feedback. If I force one out, you can hear but obviously nobody wants that. No electrical noise in the sound. So I think something that perhaps all of you need to be aware of is everything we have, anything that uses electricity at all, has noise. You add a camera to a computer, you add a mixer to a power socket, anything, they will all give you noise. It's inherent within any equipment that there is. So the best that we can do is always to mitigate them and try not to add to them too much, but sometimes we just can't help it. Things are there. Most commonly in wireless stuff, and also like old buildings, you get a lot of humming noise. What is considered bad audio? Very bassy sound, too high pitch. Sometimes your voice just sounds like this for no reason, even though your voice sounds like this. That's obviously not good. And distortion, which don't you say? Is it? I don't know. I'm mute already. The DLC. Yeah, okay. Play the video. So that's Mike. This is bad audio. You hang on,
So this is bad quality video, but good quality audio. I believe you can hear me loud and clear. So this is good quality video, bad quality audio. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly? Loud and clear? Oh, yes. Hello? Hello?
So that was a very clear example of what good and bad audio is. None of us will ever really reach the bad audio stage unless something catastrophic happens. But that is the worst that can happen. Next slide. Okay. So this is something that I learned in school. This is something I learned from working. This is something I learned from life. The number one rule is always record well at the source. Do not leave it to the edit. So no matter where you're at, you're in a studio, you're out there, if your sound is bad at the location, your sound is going to be worse when you go back and edit. No matter what you do at the editing stage, there's nothing you can do that make a bad recording sound good. You can make a good recording sound bad, but you can't make a bad recording sound good. So when you are there, when you're recording, especially at the monitoring stage of recording, always make sure that your sound is good. When I say the sound is good, I mean the levels are good. There is no distortion. It's not too soft. The tone of the sound that you're recording is a little bit subjective, but you can always edit the tone a little bit at the editing stage. But if your sound is clipping straight at the source, there is nothing you can do to save it after the fact. So if your sound is recorded with distortion, it will always have distortion. Granted, now in 2023, self-plug a little bit, there are things that help you prevent distortion at the recording stage. It's called using 32-bit audio float. But we have the Zoom products, and other brands will also come up with different things, but they will help give you a safety net in regards to volume, so you can sort of get away with it. But industry practice, always make sure your levels are good at the source. Can't stress that enough. If it sounds bad there, it will sound bad everywhere. Yeah. Alright. That goes for the streaming part as well. So before your stream or anything, make sure that your sound is already good. Just for example, this current setup that we have, you see everything with you right now. We took like 2 days to try and get it well. So it's worth it to take the time to test, to see what happens, but at least make sure it's good. Alright. So now to something a little bit more specific. Dynamic or condenser microphone. Has any of you heard the term and get extremely confused before? Anybody? Everybody is very smart. Can. Dynamic mics, there are generally 2 types in the world. Dynamic microphones, the pros and cons. Pros, it does not require extra power. It picks up less noise. So again, if you're in a noisy environment, for example, if you're streaming at a beach or you're streaming somewhere with a lot of people, you only want to pick up the sound of your source, your subject, use a dynamic microphone. Or if you need to use other kind, make sure it's as close to the source as possible. It's able to withstand higher volume. So if I shout into the mic, which I'm not going to do, it will be less likely to distort. There is always an upper limit to what a piece of equipment can withstand. It's called the maximum SPL, sound pressure level. Generally speaking, it's almost impossible for a human to reach in any equipment at all, but there are times when it happens. In terms of singing, for the singers here, dynamic mics generally give you a warmer, rounder tone, so less harsh, less shrill, and it can be connected via both XLR and quarter-inch cables. So that's why if you go out there, you want to buy an inexpensive microphone from us or anywhere else, generally speaking, the more affordable one will almost always be a dynamic mic. So if you think, oh, I spend a bit more, I can get condenser, sure, but again, it depends on use. The bad part about dynamic mic's bad part is the sound is colored. So if you want to maintain the integrity, for example, if you want to preserve the sound of nature, like birds or whatever, you don't want it to sound too dark or anything. Ideally speaking, you use a condenser because it's more true to sound in a way. Then the other thing is your source has to be closer to your microphone. So this is the dynamic mic. Obviously, if I speak now, you can't hear me. If I speak here, my voice is super bassy. If I speak here, it's kind of in between. So where you place your mic is very important, and also depends on your speaker. If I speak very loud and then I speak very top, like for example, some people with conditions whichever, they can't maintain the volume of the tone. You want something that's able to withstand the volume, but it has to be close to them, because if not, you'll just keep on changing, and you don't want that. What you want out of audio is for it to be balanced, so you don't get sudden surprises unless you go for it, like jump scares and stuff. Next. Condenser mics. Good thing, it's able to pick up sound further away. Again, probably for like nature shots. If you are recording with a camera, you're recording a dangerous thing, you have to be far away, you have no choice to be near. A condenser mic, ideally a shotgun mic, which all of your camera users will probably be familiar with, they are able to pick up the sound from further distance, so you don't have to be physically close to your subject. It's more accurate to sound. Typically wider range of pickups. So dynamic microphones, because it's a rounder, warmer tone, it's best sounding at around the mid-range. For condensers, even the more affordable one nowadays, they always go from 20k to 20 hertz to 20k hertz, which is, if you are a newborn baby, you have it. If you are 10 years old, you probably lose already the upper and lower limit of your hearing. And it's usually a little bit smaller, so which I hope the size is still there. Lapel mic. Someone asked about lapel mics when they sign up. So lapel lavalier mics, they are typically condensers. So those are the mics that you clip onto like your collar, your lapel, that kind of thing. They are good for interviews. They are good for movie recording dialogue. If you have to shoot a far shot, but you still need to pick up the voice, you cannot be physically into them. You cannot have a mic, and you don't want to do it in the edit. You have to hide a small microphone into them, and they are almost always condensers. Need extra equipment to tame the sensitivity. So pads. Pads are things you can find on typically the higher range of a specific brand's model. It's something that essentially dampens the mic, so it's not so sensitive. It's like if I put a piece of cloth over the mic, it will do that. But a dynamic condenser mic is a little bit more sensitive, so even if I cover, it's not going to cover everything, but it's basically doing the same job. Some mixers, they have the ability to have a pad for you also. So if you have a condenser into a mixer, but your mic doesn't have the pad, your mixer usually has it as well. So why use a pad over a volume fader? Because sometimes a pad is just more effective. Just one button. More often than not, needs to be connected via an XLR cable. So the 3-pin microphone cable, more often than not, it has to use that one. I know there are some cheaper ones from Sim Tower, that kind of places, sell you condenser microphones that you plug into a interface that gives you condenser sound. They are almost always not technically the kind of condenser microphones that you are thinking about. They have a stored charge within them to give them power, and they perform kind of the same way, but they don't have any of the build quality. They do not have any of like electrical noise rejection or anything. So it's good for you to use, but not good for you to use if you want to go into a more professional route. Yeah, so that's a condenser. Next. So, sound, that was the source part of the sound. Next is mixer and audio interface. So, if any of you are doing field recording, you will probably not use any of this, but you will probably see a version of the mixer. Next slide. So a mixer is also known as a console or a sound desk, like this, like the one we have at the back that we're using now, and also on our display wall at the back. Some people call it console, some people call it sound desk. They all mean the same thing. They are a mixer. A mixer is typically used for bigger requirements. When I say bigger, I mean more sources. So at the start, like I said, you need to consider the number of sources you have. If you have, 4 people talking, you're not going to find an audio interface except 4 microphones. You will need to use a mixer. Some people don't want to accept the fact, but they kind of have to use a mixer. But then you have to find a mixer that suits you. Nowadays, some of them come with USBs. For us, the brands that we carry, most of them have USB. Mackie and Zoom, which are our 2 primary mixer brands, they already have USB built in. So that means you can connect to your computer either to do recording or to do audio playback. But they are also usually bigger in size. They are usually more expensive because like an item like this size versus an item like this size is obviously going to cost different. But they also usually have more features such as equalization, reverb, a lot of uncles like reverb and delay. More routing options, so instead of just going to one pair of speakers, they can also go to external sound recorder. Someone mentioned that they want to do live and recording at the same time. Is the person here? Nobody here. Okay, good. So, wait, is that you? Yeah. So it's to answer your question. So, usually your main concern will always be your live situation, what's happening on stage at the moment. If you want to record, usually you will use an like a separate output, so that you can go into either an audio recorder or to a computer to do recording. That is how you integrate both at once. Obviously, your equipment will have to be suitable for it. The easiest way nowadays is to use USB cable. But USB cables usually only give you stereo, so you can't really mix it properly if you are using a USB cable, unless they tell you your USB is multi-track capable. What that means is each of the input will have their own recording track, so you can adjust them separately by themselves independently. I mean, so if your singer A sounds louder than singer B on stage, and then you want to lower it down, but then actually if you hear the recorded sound, both of them actually are singing at about same volume. You can treat the singer A volume a little bit higher within the editing, as opposed to your audience hearing it there and then on stage. So the keyword is USB cable, multi-track enabled, and can record. Alright. Hope that answers your question. If not, later can talk about it some also. Okay. Next one. Audio interface. Audio interface, also known as sound card. We have so many people that come here asking about sound cards, which they are not wrong. They are sound cards. But strictly speaking, sound cards is referring to like the thing in your computer that lets your computer give you sound. Which again, I understand is a point of confusion for a lot of people, since they're wondering, I got microphone jack in my laptop, I need sound card for what? Don't need lah, just buy one microphone, 3.5mm, I can go sim there, buy can already. Yes, you can, but like I said, the thing that you are buying, not because it is cheap or anything, but when you do that, the equipment is not built, the computer is not built for recording. When a manufacturer makes a laptop or computer, they don't have audio music production in mind. When the microphone makers make the microphone, it's not made with the point of clarity in mind. They are both meant to be built as affordable as possible so that they can focus on other aspects. So when you buy an audio interface, it is effectively replacing the sound card in your computer if you're a computer-based worker. So yes, you're right, but this can be a bit confusing. They're typically smaller in size. There's usually a wide range of pricing. So if you want to buy a really affordable audio interface, you can. There are brands that can cost under $100. There are also brands that can cost you thousands of dollars if you wanna go there in terms of sound card. So they can be very cheap. Usually the cheaper ones are more mobile. They are also the super expensive ones, such as the SSLs or the UA kind of stuff, Universal Audio. You won't really use them live. They are typically more studio-based equipments. But if you live use, you can get there. There are also usually no onboard audio features. So no faders, no reverb, no compressor, no limiter, no nothing that you see on the mixer. They are strictly for you to use, for you to plug audio in, and then any control you ever want to do is going to be done on your software. So just keep that in mind. And they're simpler to use. So what's the difference between them in terms of recording and streaming? Mixers allow you to use more simultaneous inputs at once. Interfaces are more mobile. But there is a third version that's coming up now, which is podcast mixers. Any of y'all here doing podcasts or looking to get into podcasts? So a bit of y'all. Okay. So pre-2020, the world was kind of defined by those two definitions. You either use an audio interface or use a mixer. There is no in between because that market technically doesn't exist. That demand doesn't exist. So manufacturers don't make. But there are some that is a little bit above the curve, such as Zoom. So the mixer that we have over here, the Zoom L8, it came out February, March 2020. So it is a small compact mixer. Comes with USB, comes with SD card recording, comes with basic effects, comes with sound pads. Strictly speaking, it wasn't meant for podcasts because it wasn't a thing. It was meant for musicians who want to perform silently or want to do their own basic recording. Just nice. No, not just nice, that's a terrible thing, but May, April, COVID happened. People stuck at home. People don't know what to do. Just nice for people that did intend to get into podcasts and stuff. The L8 was there for them to use because it is, again, affordable, small, lightweight, easy to use with simple English. So just now, when I say the common terms in audio and whatever, it doesn't exist on the mixer. It's plain English. Just headphone out, volume, That's it. The only thing that's there is like gain and high Z, which if you are a musician, the high Z term should be relatively familiar to you by then. So the world happened, a lot of different manufacturers want to chase the market. They want to give you the best possible product that you can get for your specific use, which is why we have Mackie and then also Zoom with the P8 and stuff. Next slide. They created more podcast specific products so that you can use. Again, this is all back to my first picture. This is just a big circle in the middle. So I talked about microphone. This is the mixer part. So we have the M-Caster, which is like a handheld thing that you can bring around. The marketed use for the M-Casters was for like on-the-go reporters. So you see a lot of people, if you're on social media, you see people take a fake phone or like some Ribena packet to pretend it's a microphone, talk to people, ask stupid questions like how many body count and all that kind of thing. Those are the kind of people that it's meant for, those on-the-go reporter type situation. But instead of using a shitty microphone, use a proper microphone, but you need a proper mixer to drive it. So it's on-the-go, it's portable powered, it's light, all you need is just a bag. Then there are two of our big heavyweights that we have in City Music. One is called the Zoom Pod Track. So there are two versions, one is called a P8, one is called a P4. They are again at the back of you right now, so you can take a look after the thing. What's so special about them compared to normal mixers is the biggest elephant in the podcast room. Should you buy SM7B from Shure? Everybody see it, everybody want it, not everybody can afford it. People that can afford it, they don't have the equipment to use it properly. But everybody wants it. So the Zoom Pod Track was built kind of in a way to specifically answer the question, can I use the SM7B in my setup? Sure, but you need something to power it up properly because the 7B requires a lot of power to drive, which is why if you plug into a regular interface, you can't really hear volume properly. It's not because it's a dynamic mic, it's just because it requires a lot of extra power. So the general accepted truth is you can buy a preamp, an inline preamp or cloud lifter as people know it, to boost up the volume, and then you can hear volume at a reasonable rate, which is just nice today. We just got the SM7DB, so that is the SM7B with a built-in preamp, so you don't need to buy cloud lifter already. It's on the counter there if you want to take a look. But this is what it's for. So the preamps on this, when it was released, it was kind of the highest powered, as far as I'm aware, mixer of this price range for regular people. So it has touchscreen, it has color-coded controls. The P4 I've been seeing in a lot of small-scale podcast setup. There's even a video I saw on Instagram of two little girls, like what, 2 and 4 years old. Their parents probably set it up for them, recording their podcast into a P4, which is kind of cool. They don't even, there's nothing much to control, it's just volume. So if you're worried about learning, which is funny that you're here, you can use the P4. The P8 gives you a little bit more control, so the audio tools, that again I hope is in the slides, is also available there. So you have your compressors, you have your limiters. All these are meant to give you a balanced sound for your audience. And then of course our bigger one, which is the newer one also, the DLZ Creator. Anybody here heard of the DLZ before? Or Mackie in general? I guess that's a yes. Which is this. So can I get a camera? Yeah. So this is the front of the DLZ. I'm not here to talk about specifically how to use the DLZ. It's just that, just nice, the DLZ Creator has a lot of the tools which are kind of useful for people of all skill sets, because it gives you all the tools you need to manage your sound, but it kind of also like brings you along the way. So this particular one has a few modes. When you go into the control mode, you can see Pro, but there are also like Easy, Enhance, and Pro. For the sake of my demonstration, I'm going to show you what's happening in the Pro side. But just for a quick introduction, when you are in the simple mode, this is literally all you can control. It's just volume. Volume, you don't need any special equipment to tell you how loud, how soft you are. But if you do, I mean, it's here lah. But again, if you are worried about what to do, let's say if you use a microphone, let's say you are using a dynamic of any brand, a condenser of any brand, you don't know what to do. Choose the mic that you have. I mean, at least you know what mic you have when you buy them, I assume. So my channel 3 is supposed to be a SM7B. So let's say I'm lucky enough to buy a 7B. I will go to the SM7B preset. Load. Yeah, and I'm done. That was nothing. But if you have something that is not available on the screen, and show the screen, just choose what you have, and then go to the next or whichever, and then there's a listen and set up for me option over there. So you don't have to be the sound engineer. Your mixer is your sound engineer. Yeah. All right. But back to the thing. So that's easy mode. If you want something a little bit more, you will go to enhance, but we will go to the pro straight. So on the pro mode on this VLZ, you have more controls, like equalizers, gates, compressors, and DSs. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. Shit. Okay, so what's a compressor, what's a DSO, what's a reverb, what's a delay, what's a equalizer? How do I say this? Okay. So this is the most extreme example of what a compressor does. A compressor minimizes, or rather increases your soft volume and decreases your loud volume. The best example is if I talk like this, then it's gonna sound like this. If I talk like this, it's gonna sound like this. But if I use a compressor, check 1 2 1 2. So this is me speaking to the SM7B. So with my compressor disengaged, this is basically what I sound like. With the compressor engaged, no matter how soft or how loud I talk, the sound is a little bit more balanced. So without, this is how I sound like. And this is how I sound like when it's loud. If not, this will be how I sound like when I'm speaking really softly. And this is how loud I will sound if I'm speaking with a compressor on. Not a big jump, which is good for your audience because they won't be shocked by you. It also keeps everything smoother. But this is just me speaking to one microphone. If you have, let's say, 3 or 4 participants, they are sharing the same mic for a simple setup. They all speak at a different volume. You're not gonna be there to adjust the volume every time you do, because if you do, like what we are doing now, there's always a risk of you adding too much and then you get feedback, which is not good. So if you add a compressor on, a reasonable amount of compression, no matter who is speaking, at least the sound that comes out from the mic will be at about the same level of volume, which is what you want. The next Kwasang example is DSer. I'm kind of chewing gum right now, so there's a lot of like sound also coming out from my face. But the DSer, when I typed it in, this was the simplest way I have to explain to you the sound. You say the word sibilance, you say the word Singapore, you say the word Singapore or singing or whatever. If it happens once in a while, it's fine. If it keeps on happening, then it's also not good. So if you engage the DSer, let's say minus 5.9. You see this little graph at the side? That's a graph. So I can choose the particular frequency, the offensive frequency that I have, in which case it's about probably here. There's less likely for you to hear the sound versus if I speak something like this with all my air coming out from my mouth. Right? So that is the de-esser. Reverb. Anybody here knows what reverb is? Reverb is something that gives you a lot of space. Generally speaking, they'll give you a few options, which is the one you see. So, hi, welcome to my podcast. The bigger space it is, it gives the audience the impression that you are in a bigger space than you actually are. It is not practical for all of us to go to like the Sistine Chapel in Italy to record your music, because it's very expensive. But you can simulate being there by giving like a cathedral style reverb, or a small room kind of reverb, or like a toilet somewhere with zero soundproofing kind of reverb. The difference between them will all sound like this. So if I choose cathedral, this, yo. Hot. Check. Yo. Yeah. Hello? Hello? The hell? Yo. Okay, never mind. The other mixer will show you the difference also. Delay, it gives you the impression of adding thickness to your sound, because every time you're done talking, there's another sound that's coming to the back, and after everything adds up together, it just makes you sound very thick. Equalization. So equalization refers to increasing or decreasing the volume of certain frequencies. So commonly used to reduce feedback or to remove boominess from the sound. Again, the Kwazang example is this. So with my EQ on, if I cut this all the way, check. Yeah. Check. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check. Where? Check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There are things that you can remove or you can add into your sound. Generally speaking, you don't want to add any. Yeah, this is what happens. You don't want to add frequency. You don't want to add gain to frequencies. You want them to cut. So the common misconception of equalization is, I want to make my sound super bassy. I want to sound like someone with a lot of bass in their voice. But most of the time, when the professionals do it, it's usually used to cut frequencies. You don't want to add because it's easier to cut. It's better to hear nothing than to hear a bad sound. Basically, that's what we're implying, there are different ways to do it. So this is the most extreme way, but usually most of the time it's gonna be like, cause my sibilance is a bit high, I can do this. So roughly, this is the kind of sound you're gonna wanna aim for when you use an equalizer. Back to the reverb thing. Check. So reverb. Right now I'm in the middle room reverb. So again, the Sistine Chapel thing. Check. all the sound that comes out at the back is from the reverb. You don't really want to use so much at any point in time, especially if you're doing like a podcast situation. It's very ridiculous for all of you to sound like you're in a super big room. But adding a little bit, if someone's intending to sing, it'll be quite nice because it kind of helps mask a lot of bad sounds as well. Then for delay, I'll turn off my reverb. Ha! Ha! Check. Check. Any of y'all here play guitar? Y'all got use delay pedal before? The weird wall of sound they can make with a delay is very, very fun, but not important for our use today. It's primarily more for people who want to record in the studio. If you want to add, again, like I said, add things. If you shorten the feedback, shorten the time, increase the feedback, cut a bit more, there's like a lot of delay. This, too much delay. Check. Increase the feedback, lower the level. This is what I sound like with delay. It sounds a bit like reverb, but it's not. It's obviously like the karaoke sound that we are all familiar with. But there's a reason why uncle and aunties want all these at the karaoke, because it adds thickness to your voice. It also helps to mask up some sounds that you don't really want people to hear. If I go a bit more, make it more obvious, this is what it sounds like. Again, not very useful for podcast situations or live streams, but if you want to show off like a sound effect, you use this as a sound effect. That's what you use the delay for. Any of you want to come up and try the mixer? Later lah. Okay, next slide. Monitoring options. This one I'll go past it a little bit quickly because most of the time you're just going to use headphones. Next slide. Generally speaking, why do you want headphones over speakers? Because like the situation now, you want more precise monitoring, you want better noise isolation because headphones will cover your ear as opposed to speakers which will move through the air. They take up less space to use because literally just on your head versus something that'll take up this amount of space. They're cheaper. Even like super expensive headphones, like something that costs you $400, is gonna cost you less than a pair of speakers. It's a consistent sound, so if you're doing like a podcasting or an interview thing where you have 5-6 people, you want all of them to like hear the same sound, buy them the same brand of headphones. Better for long use. When I say long use, I mean like if you're doing like a 6 hours interview session, which I've seen on YouTube, I don't understand why. It's gonna be less tiring than if you wear earpiece. You can wear earpiece if you want, but have you ever gone on an airplane, you'll wear earpiece for like your 6 hours, 8 hours flight? Super tiring. Don't do that lah. So buy something that can cover your head. Next. And these generally are the kinds that you will see that cover your head. I'm showing you specifically what we have, which is a Samsung headphone. Good value for money. But of course, you can choose the brand that you want. You can choose the type that you want. But in any case, there are usually always two types. So 2 types of mic. Generally speaking, 2 types of microphones, and now you also have 2 types of headphones. Open back and close back. Next. You will want to use the open back because it gives a more natural sound. So, you know, have anybody here used Beats before? The Beats by Dr. Dre? Yeah. You all use it to listen to choir music or hip-hop music? So the Beats are known to be a little bit bassy. So headphones by themselves, by the construction, are not always like the flattest response headphones. For podcasts, it doesn't really matter because you're not using precise editing. but it's still good to have a more natural sound when you hear them because you don't get so weirded out, which is where open back, because there are literal holes in the headphone, so it blends in together with the surrounding air and gives you a more natural performance, which will also be why there's less fatigue after you use them for a long period of time compared to closed back headphones, because there's like more space for the sound pressure to dissipate. They are generally lighter, which again makes it easier to wear for a long period of time. But they do give you poorer noise isolation. So if you, let's say just for normal, you just want to go outside and listen to music, you sit on a train or whatever you listen to, whatever dirty videos you watch on your phone, you don't want people to know, they can hear you. So you don't want that. But I mean, it's also another way if you are speaking to people right in front of you, like what we're doing now. If I wear headphones, if I have to, it's going to be a more natural sound that I get back from you as opposed to close back. But which is also why you have weaker bass response. So if you are deciding between, oh, do I want to buy open back headphone or close back headphone to listen to music, just buy a close back, because the open back will give you poorer bass response. So if you like rock music, EDM music, hip hop music, it's gonna feel like there's something lacking when you sing, no matter how good it sounds. Next. Close back, which is the more typical headphones like you can see on your side over there. They give you better noise isolation. They're also more common, so you can find them more easily. They give you a stronger bass response. However, if you use them for a long time, which is about 3 hours, 4 hours, it can get a little bit tiring, which kind of differentiates between certain headphones from each other. And it can get a bit hot after a while, hot on your head because of the leather and stuff. Next. So, if you want to buy a pair of headphones for your own use, or you want to buy them for your guests or whatever, these are a few things to look out for. Look out for the price, obviously, if you're buying for multiple people and they are not always going to be there. You don't want to spend something too expensive also. So look out for the price. Look out for the weight. You want something a little bit lighter. This Bear Dynamic is about 388 grams. Not that bad, but can be lighter. Comfort. So which is why if any of us ever come to City Music and you look for us and say, oh, I want to buy a pair of headphones. For me, usually my first question I will say, the first thing I'll say is, try the headphones, see whether it's comfortable for you, because not everybody's heads are built the same. Not everybody's ears are the same size. So online reviews doesn't really help you in that particular case. Impedance level and sensitivity. This one is the one that kind of trips me out the most. So if there's anything that you all want to remember from this talk, is remember this. Impedance level is the amount of power, not the amount of power, but the amount of resistance you need to overcome to get you to a normal listening volume. So a lot of people come here if you're wondering, if I buy super expensive pair of headphones for my podcast, I want to treat my guests well, like buy them something good. Yeah, I go buy Bear Dynamic DT770, 250 ohms, what's the difference? Doesn't matter, I'll buy it's more expensive. But all you're using is like, I don't know, the regular Behringer or something from Slim Tower, some headphone amp. And then you're like, hey, I can't hear anything. Why? Because the headphone amplifier or headphone splitter that you're using is not giving enough power to your headphones. Even though they cost you more money, the marketing is damn nice, the box looks damn nice, you can't use it because you don't have the proper equipment, just like the 7B. Everybody's using it, I can afford it, I'll buy it, but end up you can't really use it properly because you don't have the proper support for the items. So not everything is built equally. For regular consumer products like our phones, our laptops, our normal mixers, this kind of thing, the general impedance is about 32 ohms. So just remember the number, 32 ohms. There are some lower ones like 25, 28, maybe some 34. Generally speaking, you want to hit around that ballpark. If you go anything above this, you will need something that can provide a lot of power, which our phone will never be able to provide, no matter how expensive your phone is. You buy the new iPhone 15 Pro Max, doesn't give you the same thing. Just for example. Sensitivity level. So again, not all are built the same. But generally speaking, the higher the number, the better the use, I guess. But if it's too sensitive, obviously it's more prone to noise, from electrical noise and stuff. Worse if you're using wireless, but wireless will probably never really get there. So you might hit around 90 to 100 dB. So whenever you're buying headphones, be it from us, or from anywhere else, these are the rough specs that you need to be able to understand. Because if you come to City Music and ask me what's the difference between cheap and expensive headphones, I'll probably just go into the whole thing again lah. Alright. Next. Monitoring speakers. So, like the ones you see at the corner on our wall over there, those are what we call monitoring speakers. But we are not using them because they are not useful for this particular situation, which is why I would say they're more meant for editing than live monitoring. So if you're doing a stream and stuff, monitor on your headphones, just like what our guy is doing now. Monitor on headphones and not speakers. Because if you're in a small space, you can also cause feedback to yourself, which nobody wants. But they are less tiring on your ears. They give you a more balanced sound. It gives you a wider stereo field, but they will also take up more space because of the stereo field. So if you have the luxury of space to have an editing bay with a pair of speakers, good for you. But again, you'll probably be using it more in the editing space than the actual monitoring lah. Next. Okay, so I understand this is also important for some people. Can my USB device be used with my phone? Yes. In 2023, yes. Before that, probably not. In 2023, yes. However, there are things that you need to get. You need to get the correct adapters. So for Android phones, it's this. It's called the OTG adapter. Most modern Android phones should be able to use USB audio, but you still need that lah. For Apple, you're gonna need the Lightning camera kit. iPhone 15 Pro Max is gonna use Type-C, so that is probably gonna be obsolete. But if you are still using older stuff, you need this. But the key thing to remember is the USB equipment that you buy has to be powered as well. It will not be powered up by your phone. So unless your equipment says you can use their own power, you may not be able to work. So just a purchase tip for when you come to us in the future. These are just the kind of things you need to know. And also for Apple specifically, 100% need to buy Apple products. Not an advertisement for them, it's just the truth. If you want to use Apple product for audio, buy that thing. Because anything else is just gonna fail. Happens so many times. Yeah, next. And then platform for streaming. Again, if all of y'all are here, y'all know what to do but don't know where to go. These are some of the examples I've seen so far. We have OBS, StreamYard, Streamlab, and CapCut. This is, in all honesty, this is like my second draft of my slides. This is not what I actually meant to show you, but these are here because OBS, which is the one we're using now, is the one, if you're on your phones, you all go YouTube or Facebook and follow us, you can see us streaming there. We are using OBS. OBS is a free-to-use online streaming software. You can link all your video or your audio into one platform and then you'll go up. OBS, Open Broadcast Studio. OBS Studio. I don't know, man. StreamYard, which is another one. That one is browser-based. So you need to have internet connection. You do when you do streaming anyways, but it's a browser-based. It's about the same as OBS. However, there are some features that you need to pay, but if not, OBS can do recording as well. So if you want to record your own streams locally onto your computer without an external recorder, use OBS. Streamlab is another one. And then CapCut is more specifically for the mobile users. So if any of your heavy TikTok, your business is based on TikTok or Instagram or any mobile short form based thing, CapCut is a free to use editing software. So you record whatever you have to record already, you can stitch all of them together in CapCut and then upload it onto your social media of choice. Which I recently learned, the AI robot voice on TikTok can be found on CapCut, which is weird. But you can use that. So any social media based personnel here use CapCut for editing. Next. Public live stream sites. So I think most of you are professionals here, not so much hobbyists. But if you know any, these are some of what I call public live stream sites. So public meaning your audience are not your friends. Your audience is not your contacts. It can be anyone who's on the app and they're just curious about what you're doing and want to follow you. So TikTok, Twitch, Bigo, Periscope, UpLive. I understand the bottom three have kind of their own reputation, but they are what they are. Yeah, so literally anybody, as long as they're on the app, they can see you on your stream. There are some musical performers up there. There are also some not so musical performers, but it's there. Next. And these are what I call private live stream sites. So private meaning the audience are your friends or your subscribers. unless you pay to get the website to bring you out there. So Facebook, YouTube Live, Instagram, Clubhouse, Discord. The audience is almost certainly always going to be your friends or your subscribers, people that you kind of already know. So not really a chance for you to get new audience. Yeah, but that's that. Next. So just a rough FAQ. If anybody wonder why you should have good sound, I mean, if it sounds bad, you're not going to watch the stream anymore, right? Yeah. What's the simplest setup you can have for yourself? So just like the price breakdown that the people at Blackmagic gave you earlier, for us, honestly, one microphone setter, a USB microphone, because we're all using computer devices. But obviously, there are better ways to go around that. How do you upgrade your sound? Have a good, decent microphone. Always put them as close as possible to your source. Don't bother trying to, I want to look wireless or whatever. The sound is, unless you have the correct equipment for it, it's never going to be there. Even for mics, when you can't see like lapel, they're almost always so close to your source. Wireless options will always have some amount of risk. Be it interference, be it drop out, your battery die, the thing drop, you step on the thing. So many problems. But it's convenient. What's the difference between cheap equipment and expensive one? Usually, almost always the build quality. Not to say plastic or metal or what, but not all plastics are built the same. Reliability, whether or not the sound will drop out on you right now. Like for example, this particular mic we have here right now sounds good all the way, correct? We have had previous examples where we use more affordable versions and it gave us a lot of problem, which is why we're using this now. So that is one aspect. And the ease of mind is priceless. Frequency response, a bit subjective, but generally speaking, the poor quality one kind of make your voice sound like a 1940s telephone, which unless you want that, is usually there. Flexibility of use, can you use it with live use? Can you use it with mobile devices? Can you use it elsewhere? Usually when the more expensive one can. More practically speaking, warranty. If you buy from Slimlim, try and get warranty from them. If you buy from us, we will honor the warranty. Branding. But not because, this brand more expensive, that's why it's, or rather this brand is more famous, they're trying to eat more money from me. No. Branding implies history. Branding implies you know what they're about, you know what they want to do, you know where they're going. Again, ease of mind is priceless. When you buy a specific brand, you know what you're buying. Versus if you buy something else that you don't know, and then you say, cheap I try . But you buy it with the intention that, with the thinking that it's going to fail on you, but you don't spend so much money, which, why would you go through that route? Just get something proper, get something reliable, get something trusted, then carry on doing whatever content you have to do. What kind of mics should you actually use? Generally speaking, dynamic for noise environment, condenser for controlled ones like studio, this kind of environment, where you know where the sources of noise are coming from. How to combine your audio and video, which again is very important for all of you. Strictly speaking, just go to your software setting. There's no avoiding that. Whatever software you choose to use, whatever equipment you intend to use, there is a soft setting for sound. You go Facebook have, you go YouTube have, you go OBS have. Make sure that it's correct. Don't be suddenly, hey, my equipment spoil. If you just buy them, can't be your equipment spoil. It can happen, but less likely. So go to a sound setting. That's FAQ. Any other important questions anyone want to ask? Yes.
Live streaming, but normally they have video and audio, right? So normally, if you use OBS, right, as a platform for streaming, so it will input the video and audio as a different source, and then sync it together, like audio, link the audio to the video mixer first, and then from there capture the video and audio together.
Okay. So there are two ways I can go about it. For what we are doing right here, right now, we are linking external audio into my main mixer, which will then feed a secondary source into our OBS for streaming. I do that, or rather, we do that because I want to have a different volume, different mix on the streaming, what you are hearing on YouTube and Facebook now versus what you are hearing now. OBS, the benefit of OBS is you can also have multiple sources. You want to use them, don't want to use, is fine. You can mute them in. But at a glance, you can see all that you have ever plugged into, subjected to your USB slots. So in terms of video and audio, if you use like the ATEM kind of thing, if it's all in one, it's just registered as one source on your computer. But if you do it like us, we run them on separate USB. So you will see two separate, one audio track, one video track. What is going out is a summation of everything that you choose to activate. So if it's muted, your audience won't hear lah. But if it's unmuted, everything is triggered. You will all be together, because at the end of the day, OBS is a broadcast service. So hear and see at the same time lah. So no stitching required, no syncing required. Should there be any issues, I think there are also settings that you can adjust. How many millisecond delay for each other. That is why OBS is so convenient. It's practically free and it gives you a lot of controls about for your streaming. Yeah. So that's on the OBS side. On the real life side, like what kind of equipment to plug in or something, that one still stands. You need to choose the correct microphone, choose the correct mixer or interface, and then go into your computer. Yeah. Anyone else? You kena before? Real life no feedback, audio stream got feedback.
Sometimes yes, I think sometimes your network connection plays a very big part as well.
Yeah.
So that's one factor. Of course, check your hardware.
Yeah, so the tricky thing about streaming is your internet kind of plays a part. So if you're out there, out in the wild, running Wi-Fi right, or mobile data, right, you just need to watch out a bit. Yeah. Any other questions? If don't have, good. If have, I'll be at the site. And I'll be here. I'm at work here, so you all want to find me, just find me. Okay. Okay, so next slide. No more. There is the end of my audio presentation. Hopefully I have not bored you guys too much. So next up will be, I guess, the most exciting one, lighting. So lighting will be presented by Jimmy from Aputure Amaran. He has been in it for quite a while now, about 13 years experience. So this is where it gets colorful. So if you all got shades, wear shades, huh?
All right, guys. Afternoon. Okay. Just give me a couple of minutes to set up. I know you all have been seated for quite a while. Let's do. Is it safe, Tim? Is it safe to do a quick toilet break, and we will be back here in 2 or 3 minutes? Is that okay with you guys? Hey, don't run, eh? Don't Don't run. Okay, we will see you here back in 2 to 3 minutes. All right, guys. See you. Yeah. Okay, guys, we're gonna start in a minute. Do come on in. And I think the next part of the segment will be on lighting. Part of it is rehearsed. Part of it we are gonna get some help from a friend that I just met who happens to do a little bit of lighting as well. Yeah. Okay, guys, come on in. Okay. For those of you who are here already, I just wanted to understand, any of y'all have used lighting in your current setup before? You have? Strike. Tried to. Okay. So what happened?
I think the color spilled over very easily because I tried to use 2 tube lights at the back, right, to do colored lighting, but the color kept spilling over and I couldn't really control the lights that I wanted.
I see. Okay. So you realize that you ran into a situation where this is what we call in lighting, you need control, right? You need the light to hit where it needs to hit and avoid the places that it doesn't hit. Because what happens is, to create a beautiful looking image, there are some elements, and one of them you're talking about is contrast. You need to light where you want to and avoid lighting areas where you don't want to. Because generally, psychologically, all of us are wired to see a frame, like a picture like this. When we look at it, we naturally gravitate towards the brightest point. So in that sense, when you are lighting for anything per se, where you want your audience to look also depends on how much light, how much contrast, like, is it very super contrasty or everything is very evenly lit? Later, we're going to look at some images, and then we're actually going to do a setup for someone who's playing music, because actually we did plan for a musician to be up here. So we're going to go really ghetto, because that part of it is unrehearsed. We're going to be moving lights around, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about safety as well when you are moving the stands actually that support the light. And in addition to that, understand that lighting is both about creating possibilities. You can have a very, very moody, heartbroken singer-songwriter, or you can have a fast and furious rock band playing, and the lighting essentially should complement that, right? Lighting can help your content, your videos to go from mediocre, average to wow, right? Again, I think our friends from Blackmagic talk a lot about how a lot of the possibilities happens within like a 7-inch screen, and how you can fully maximize your production value. Okay, anyway, I'm starting to sound a little bit too theoretical, too theory based. How's everyone? Is everyone back? Okay, guys, if you're here for the event, we are moving on with lighting. Okay, all right, guys. My name is Jimmy. I'm from a lighting company called Aputure. Just quick show of hands. Anyone has heard of Aputure before? Okay, wait. Where's my phone? I need to do a selfie on this. Okay, guys, can I just ask that question again? So, how many of y'all have actually used Aputure before? Show of hands. Okay, the moment is eternalized. Okay. So we are a lighting company. We make lighting software, lighting control software, which is why we actually have this iPad over here. So this iPad is running a lighting control system. So we have essentially lit the scene behind for our friends at Blackmagic Design. So let's say if I wanted to kill the lights, I can just kill it like really right fast. Lighting, need to understand that it's both hardware and software. When you're using more lights, you need to be able to say sometimes like do this. And let's say I don't really like this look. I'm working by myself at home. I'm a single content creator. I need to like change things up. Let's go for something that is very like high and clean look. And then we can do something just that fast. Lighting, I want you all to see possibilities. Sometimes lighting gets overlooked a lot. But you can see that now the image very, very high key, very bright, very airy. It conveys a very elegant feel to it, right? Compared to something that is maybe a bit more funky. Oops, where's my image? Did I press the wrong button? Okay, could we get the image back up? Oh, I know, someone switched off the TV. Okay, just give it a second. So you have a very clean, bright, airy look to something that is more playing a bit more with colors, right? Colors in lighting creates different mood, feel. So what I've done actually here is, don't worry, for the slides I have, I'm just going to take you through some quick ideas. I'm going to show you more images. When you look at the image, tell me like what do you feel about it, what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Okay, so if you come to any of our events, lighting events, workshops, it looks a little bit like that. Okay? And this is all corporate stuff. Okay, yeah, this is what I want to tell you all. If you cannot remember anything today, just remember these 5 things. When it comes to lighting, okay, this is a great point to be taking a photo. I'll just hold my moment of silence. Okay, so 5 major lighting concepts: the direction, where the light is coming from, the intensity, how bright the light is, the color, we're talking about white light like this, right? Warm, is it cool? These falls under white light. Or are we talking about things like RGB, right? You got your red, blue, your RGB, your primary and your secondary colors, right? Then we talk about things like contrast, right? How contrasty or how not contrasty it is. Okay, so with that in mind, actually, we come, especially for Aputure, some of us come from a film production background. Have you ever seen an image like this before? Yes, no. Okay, what do you think this is about? Music video. Possible. Yes, Mark. Yeah. Huh? Interview. Very expensive interview, but possible. Say that again.
A movie scene.
Movie scene. Yes, this will not be out of place. So what this is really is finding the best angles on people like Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, whether they look lit better from this side, top down, what happens when the camera comes in from this angle, right? So, right, just to give you an idea, before we start, right, where the lighting is put is very important, where it's placed. So, something like this is something that you see on TV TV networks. The idea of it is just to put light on that person. We're not looking for something very cinematic. The thing that we're trying to avoid here is shadows. We don't want shadows, right? It looks very evenly lit. This is something that is more common when you are working with one light. This is actually something that can be quite good for content creators. It's just one light, top down, pointing down at a person. Ideally, because the light itself is relatively flattering, right? It's with a softbox. Okay, we're gonna skip this. Okay, as the name suggests, this is split style lighting. You can see that there's a lot more shadows and highlights going on from left and right side of the face. More contrasty. In a situation like doing music type applications, if someone is playing a musician, a look like this could work, right? Depending on if you're trying to convey something very positive or you're trying to convey something that is edgy, right? This would be a more edgy look. So if you're playing something more upbeat, rock, right, this might be suitable for it. But if you're like a singer-songwriter, you want to convey something that is clean, peaceful, gentle, this might not be the best look for it. Okay. And I think one of the most important things when it comes to lighting, just think about it. When you look at light itself, what we are trying to do a lot of times is to mimic light that we see around us, right? All light essentially comes from the sun itself. And the light that you see around us are actually, most of the time, is reflected light. Why I'm saying this is because when you are lighting itself, you need to understand that the lights that you're trying to create, a lot of it is actually reflected, which means that it's generally not a good idea to put a light directly smack in front of the person. If you want it natural, as flattering, as naturally looking as possible, You're trying to create light that's all around us. And with that, we are going to come over to this setup that we have over here. Okay, guys, how many light sources are there? Okay, maybe I should say it this way. How many artificial light sources do you see here in this room right now? Can be City Music's own light source or what? Just shout it out. You know what lights you see here? You've got 7. Okay, you got the tubes in the back. Okay, so there are 4 of them. Where else? Where else do you see the lights? You've got the overhead lights from City Music itself. Okay, I'm just going to add one more thing to it. Keep in mind that there are lights that you can control and lights that you cannot control. That is important because later when we have the singer-songwriter come up, we're going to create a scenario where sometimes you cannot turn off the light. Okay, and what happens? What do you? How do you go with something like that? What else? So you have the those running on the tracks. You have the overhead lights. You've got the LED tubes. What else? What else do you see here? Okay, you've got this giant. We call this a soft box, right? So it's providing this big wall of light that's coming from the top. Where else? Okay, you've got those in the back over there. Okay, those are track lights inside the guitar showroom. Where else? Oops. Where else do you see the light? Any more? Do you notice actually there's this light that's right over here? You can see, right? Because when I come in, right? Could you see actually I'm walking into the light? This is actually one of the most useful lights that you can have as if you're walking off your bedroom. It's actually what we call a top-down light. The light is not pointing in other directions. Its main purpose is to light what is directly below it. So if you're doing a voiceover or podcast, right, and you have one camera that's coming one way, and you have a second camera that's top down that's pointing towards the table, this light will light essentially what is on the table, something like a flat lay, and it will add a little bit of that hair light. Very useful, right? The hair light is very useful because this thing doesn't take up a lot of space. It's right above your ceilings. And let's say if your table is backed up against the wall, you don't have a lot of room to back away. You can see in and out of the light. So this top-down light, don't discount it. It's actually a very useful light. What other light sources do we have that we missed? Do you see that there are some what we call a wash of light in the back? Oh, where's the other one? Oh. Do you all see that there's actually some lights in the back? Right? So those essentially are what we call a light wash. Its main purpose is to just throw some light into the background. It's quite useful, right? It's quite useful. It could be just a single daylight, just a single light. When you are working with maybe 1 or 2 lights, a lot of times we will have something that is lighting you from the front, like a key light. And then we'll just have another light that we just splash on the wall itself. If it can change color, you can introduce moods into it. If it's just white, that's okay as well. But that light, the main purpose is to sort of separate your subject from the background. If you're wearing black, the wall is a dark colored one. You would literally just melt, you become cartoon, like Looney Tunes. You just melt into the background. Okay, so now I've just explained really the direction of the light itself. Okay, we're going to skip all of that. I just want to also quickly show you about one of the other key lighting concepts is what we call contrast. So just our friend here, he's on his own lighting journey, and you mentioned about tubes that's spilling onto your face too strong. So what happens? What can you do to control that? Because when you are lighting up a space, too much light, what it does also, it ends up killing the contrast. Do understand that when you're lighting something, right, you're not trying to put light all over the entire space. You want to put light essentially where you want it to go. So the thing about, in that sense that you're talking about contrast, right? How do you maintain contrast in a scene? I'm sure quite a number of you all grew up, because I see a lot of young faces here, right? Have you all seen this movie before? Right? This was at King's Cross, right? When you look at this image, what does it make you feel? Heaven, yes? Cold. Really? Cold? Okay. What else? It looks very dreamy, right? Right. So in this scene, very, very little, very minimal contrast. So sometimes when you want to convey this kind of very elegant, very, up in the air, literally up in the air kind of a look, you can go with something that is less contrasty. So what they have done here in terms of lighting, Dumbledore is lit with, say, maybe 80% light. And then in the background, that light could be somewhere around 100%. So the difference is not very big compared to something that is like this. Do you know who this is? Okay, I heard Hugh, so must be Jackman. Okay, so this is Australian actor, Hugh Jackman. You all know him as Wolverine? Okay, you all watch movies, right? Like pop and music, like and film goes together, right? So this is Wolverine from the film Prisoners. Yes, correct. Right. So in this particular scene, very high contrast, very moody, very edgy. The look and feel that you get compared to this completely different feel. So in that sense, how much light that contrast must also complement the look and feel that you are going for. And in terms of what we are actually talking about in terms of lighting, is really what we call lighting ratio, right? How moody, to something that's very high key, how different it is, Okay, and I know I'm starting to lose some of you. I'm going to go a little bit quicker. Lighting quality, the quality of light, Okay, look, I just look at these two images. See any difference? Overexposed. Okay, at least you didn't say it's two different people. The next person who says is, I've done this so many times. The next person who says there are two different people, I'm going to hit him. Yeah, but I show you they're the same person. What's the difference between the two? Different ratios. Okay. Might be close. There might be some slight difference. Not so much color. It's like Blackmagic and another camera, right? I gotta be very careful with this. I'm just joking. Highlight the subject. Actually, both are highlighting the subjects. Let's assume the color temperature, the color, they're all even. Lighting is, where's the difference in the lighting? Okay. Jennifer says shadow. We're getting there. Position of the light. They look quite similar. Okay, one thing, when it comes to lighting any image and you're trying to figure out what is behind the scenes, number one, look to the shadows, correct, which is what Jennifer said. Second, look at the eyes. The eyes are literally like a mirror. The eyes will give away how big the light source or how small it is and where exactly it is. Can you see, actually later if you come close enough, right, you will see that the reflection on the second image, right, the catch, we call it the eye light or the catch light, is a lot bigger than the first. This happens because the light on the right actually has this giant softbox on it. And because of that, the one on the right is softer than the one on the left. So we're talking about hard and soft light. Look at what we call the graduation. Look at how quickly we go from shadows to highlights in the left image, and notice how gradual it is on the second image. So now, based on this that you have learned, I'm going to challenge and ask you again. So you look at all the light sources around us. This one, soft or hard? How you tell? Yeah, you can. Who said that? Who said that? Light is soft. Why? Soft box. Who said that? Okay, wow, that really just cracks me up. Oh, okay. Okay, the softbox does make the light hard. Okay, so the thing about this is the hardness of a light is determined by two things. Okay, the size of the source. Generally, a bigger source, like you make it bigger, will give you a softer light, assuming we are talking about same distance. Then the second thing is the distance from the light source to the subject. Okay, if it's very far away, like very, very far, the light is harder or softer? Softer or harder? No, same. If the next person thinks of a funny answer, this mic is gonna go flying to you nowhere. Okay, I'm gonna give you the answer, okay? The further it is, generally the light source is harder. So the best way to think about it, think of the sun, how far it is from the earth. The sun itself is a giant source. Jimmy, you say big giant source, but how come the light is, well, I can see my shadows on the floor. It's because the sun is very far away from the earth. So the light is very hard. You need to understand that soft light, the good part of it, it looks flattering. But the bad part about it, it spills all over the place. You see, like I turn this on, wow, everything, I'm lit also, the bag is also lit, everything is lit. Then I don't want, because if that, Jimmy also say, you know, the eyes tend to look at the brightest thing in the image. So if everything's lit, then you lose, you know, focus of your subject. Okay, soft light generally spills everywhere, hard to control. Hard light itself, sometimes not the most flattering, but it's a lot easier to control. So most of the light sources that you see this, the tubes, they're all soft. But there's one hard light source in this setup. Do you know what? Can you tell where it is? Look at the shadows. There's actually hard light sources in the back. Can you see where it is? Correct, it's that one. You see the Mackie speakers in the back? Those shadows are relatively defined and hard. Okay? Right? So what I'm also saying is that I'm also saying is there's not one better than the other. How we're going to use it, maybe later when we get to the musicians part, we can actually try to incorporate some of that. Do you know her? Okay, this is to give you answer. Keira Knightley, right? You can see the quality of the light very soft compared to something like this. This is a film before my generation. Okay, this is Rick from Casablanca. You can see the quality of the light. And back then, you need to understand that before we came to all these, wow, very nice LED can change color, right? Back then, when they say light, right, automatically it's assumed that it's a hard light. And that's why you end up with images like this. Okay, then I'm going to jump very quickly to the next lighting concept, color. Color changes perception, right? It tells you the time of the day. So you have under colors itself, you got white light. So all these that you see here, if they look white to you, we call these white lights. They can be warmer, they can be cooler. When you look outside the window, the light looks generally white. You usually assume that it's early morning all the way till afternoon. If it goes warmer, you know that it's close to sunset. It's just how we as a kid, you know, from the moment that we wake up, we look at light, automatically we make that association. Okay. So can you tell some of these lights that we have around us are actually in white light mode? White light mode. Okay. So this one very obviously it's white. Right? It's very true to color. So whatever you put in front of it, what you're gonna see is what you're gonna get. It doesn't look warmer, it's quite neutral. This is 5600 Kelvin, right? Some people call it daylight, right? Some lights can change what we call, this is color temperature. Some cannot change. If you can change, you can sometimes make it warmer like this one, that's right over here, right? Sometimes you want to make something look a lot warmer. And let's maybe put it on the iPad. It's easier to show you. Let's say I kill all the lights. And we just have two lights. What I'm going to do is we're going to play a little bit with just warm and cool. So what I'm going to do over here is that I'm going to set this one to something that is cooler, right? Can you see that actually the light is a little blue? And let's say you only have two lights. Let's say we are just assuming that we're working with one or two lights. So it sometimes might be a good idea to try to contrast this. So I have this one that is quite cool, and I'll put something that is a bit warmer on the overhead light, which is exactly, I'm going to put it as warm as I can get. I'm going to stand in. Okay, so you're playing a little bit with color contrast. Right, something that's cooler meets something that's warmer. In a room where sometimes you don't have a lot of room to put so many lights, playing with contrast, color contrast, not just light and shadow contrast, but color temperature contrast helps to elevate, your image as well. Okay. And then of course, now you know that there are things like color temperature, right? Indicated. So the lower the number, right, the warmer it is. So street lamps are usually somewhere in the 2000 Kelvin. The unit measurement is in kelvins, right? Just like how you have grams, you have mLs. So when you measure color temperature, it's in Kelvin. So something, you go outdoors, during the day, you get something that's closer to white. Could be 5600 Kelvin. As you progress, into the night time, the number goes higher to something that's more bluer, right? Warmer and bluer. And then of course, how this might be used on films. So this is actually from the Oscar-winning, they call it Mad Max. It tells of a story of a group of ravagers on an alien planet. So how you can create something that looks so warm is by also playing with the settings on the camera. So let's say if you are using a 5600 Kelvin light, and the light cannot change color temperature, and this is now we're getting actual working with the camera and lighting. So let's say I have a light 5600 Kelvin. I cannot change the color temperature on the light. How can I make the room look warmer? How can I do that? Say that again.
Adjust the color temperature of the camera.
Exactly, right? So you need to understand that what our friend here is referring to is the white balance on the camera. Is what the cameras see as white. If the white balance on the camera is 5600 Kelvin, I put this to 5600 Kelvin, what will I see? Exactly. What you see is what you get, right? True to life. Yeah. But if I only have a light that I cannot change color 5600 Kelvin, let's say I want it to be warmer, what would you set the white balance on your camera? Lower than 56? Or higher than 56? Anyone else want to try? Is it to the left or to the right? Camera sees 5600 Kelvin as white, right? But my light is only 5600 Kelvin. If I want the 5600 Kelvin to look warm, I should set the white balance to the right. Make sense? So I should set the white balance on the camera to maybe 8000 Kelvin. So it will see the 56 as, oh, you're actually warmer. This is actually a very useful tip because we sometimes use this to shoot food, person, portraits. You want it to sometimes be a little bit warmer than it actually is, but you're limited by your light. I give you another example. Let's say I don't have all these LEDs. I'm only shooting with my room light, the city music light. The city music lights, if you look at it, is it what color temperature is it? If you think about it, is it on the warm side or on the cool side? Slightly warm, right? And sometimes it looks very orangey on your skin, the final output. How can you try to compensate for that on the camera? Your white balance should be on the left or on the right. Let's say you want something that is closer to what your eyes see. Okay, you understand how it works now, right? You can set it to 3200 Kelvin to match, but if you want the 3200 Kelvin to be a little bit more neutral, your 32 should be on the right, which means that you probably need to set the color temperature on your camera, your white balance, to around 2800 or lower. Okay? Okay, this is just playing. I hope I haven't lost you. Okay, but this is the concept about color temperature. Okay, lastly, just hang in there. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to go straight to moving the lights around. This is what we call color theory. This applies not just for lighting, but if you do poster design, anything that is visual based, we all take reference from this color wheel. You have lights that are primary, where it's RGB. You have lights that are a combination of two primary lights, like cyan, magenta, yellow. So cyan is a combination of red and green. Magenta is a combination of red and blue. And yellow is a combination of red and green. Yeah, I got that right, yeah. Okay. So how you can use something like this on a set. So I'm going to quickly show you. It's probably easier to show than actually talk about it. Okay, I'm going to kill all the lights. But let's say I've got some tubes. We're just looking at the tubes, right? We're not looking about the key lights and the over. Let's say I choose a few colors to create what we call like visual interest, make the image more interesting. What colors have you all seen before? Color combinations. Huh? Red and blue. Okay, that's a very common one. So you have red and blue. Okay, so I can do this with the help of my app. I can select just maybe red and blue. Replace the green, blues. Right. Oh. Sorry about that. Okay, so on the app itself, what I'm doing here is I'm just selecting the tubes. And there's this function inside the tube called color palette. The palette itself allows you to select, say for example, if you want, maybe you got what we call complementary colors. Colors that are on two opposite sides of the wheel. Oh, sorry. Okay. So just give me a second there. Okay. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. Yeah. So this will be a good example of a complementary color set. So if you look at your wheel, it's showing a red and cyan, right? So it doesn't mean that only in lighting, but if you are a designer, you are a visual artist, you're looking for color combinations. Red and cyan in I think film, we call it almost a bit of like the Hong Kong movies, Wang Ka Wei, kind of a feel. I think those of you who watch films, very common. Let's say if I'm a musician, I've also seen people work with things like, for example, a triad. A triad, if you see over here, are actually lights that are on three opposite sides of the wheel. So a CMY is a very obvious triad. Cyan, magenta, yellow. Is it showing? Oh, okay, I need to bump up the saturation on these. Okay. And there you go. So why people particularly pick colors to complement each other is because of where they are relative to each other in the field. You also have colors that are generally cooler. So that's why I think it's also very popular for people to choose something like blue and purple, right? I'll just quickly show you how it looks. Yep. Okay. All right. Oh, now I sound better. Okay, I'm just joking. Okay. You can have something that is colors that are on opposite, on the warmer and the cooler side. This is also quite common, right? Just play a bit more. Okay. Just to show some lighting ideas and possibilities that you are like red and cyan, you can go about choosing color combinations as you like, depending on what you're going for. But they do, there is some structure to it. They do obey some, rules, laws of nature to it. Okay, and I think this is a good point for me to bring on that musician. Now we're gonna actually invite someone to come up here, and we're going to light that person with 2 or 3 different looks. Do understand that by no means that this is like, we are saying that this is how it should be done, but I think the idea of what we're trying to do here is to show you the possibilities. Okay, I'm going to also introduce a friend of mine. Can we give a round of applause to Mark? Yeah. Right, so we wanted to introduce a bit of audience participation. Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe could we get a musician?
I'm Mark, and today I'm his coolie, so I'm the one who will help him with the lights. So, and to learn from him also how to light up the musician.
Okay, Mark, this is a time where I give you like 10 seconds of fame. So tell us a little bit about your TikTok channel.
Oh, my TikTok channel, I sing, I do weird stuff, and I do talk about light, and in particular Aputure, how to light up you nicely, so, and how to get the V face. Right, the light from the top, then you have the shadow here. Suitable for work or not? You check it out. Go to my channel, Mark Vong, MARKVONG. That's me. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now could we bring in that musician? Okay. Right. Are you playing the music for us? Yeah. Oh, okay. Instrument. Okay. Okay. Okay, guys. Now we are throwing them into a little bit of a mess. Okay. Now I think this is a good time for me to take some questions. Up to this point of time, we covered a lot. Like I think it's a crash course of all crash courses. I'm sure you all ran into some scenarios, when you all try to light by yourself. Just any questions, anything that you like to ask. Maybe it's a scenario or it's a problem that you came across in lighting. This is a good time to bring it up.
So now the lighting of this Aputure company is always linked to the apps.
Correct. Yes. So the app actually allows you to control up to a total of 100 lights of a single device. There are many things that I wish I had a chance to show you from the app itself. So do you know that actually if you are playing like a live track, you can turn on the music, you call it the music effects function. The app itself is able to read your music and actually get the lights to pulse to whatever music that you're playing on it. You can increase, you can have it sync to your BPM, or it could be flashing 2 or 3 times quicker than your BPM. Maybe later when we get time, we'll show you that. Okay. Any other questions? Oh. Yeah. Any other questions when it comes to lighting?
It's also available for iOS and Android.
Yes. The app itself is called Sidus Link. So that is SIDUS. If you cannot remember that, you can type in Aputure. Usually we have it on our softbox. Is it there? You'll see it? Aputure? Okay, if not, it's on my shirt. Yeah. Okay. It's APUTURE. You type it in, you'll see the app. Yes.
In the scenario, let's say like I'm trying to work with color lights, then the color is not reflected accurately on my camera. So sometimes what I've done is I tried to play with the white balance on the camera to get the correct color, but then my face, the color turns out like crap lah. So I don't know how to work around with it.
So what the problem that our friend here is facing is that you've turned up the saturation on your colored light all the way up. The camera does not have the bandwidth to read a fully saturated light. So what you need to do is to be dialing down the saturation of your light. So what that means really is that okay, let's say if I use the app, because I think it's a lot quicker, right? So what our friend here is that I'll kill all the lights, and we have the tubes, just the tubes. So if you look into the color wheel itself, what you're doing is that you fully saturated the lights like this. The camera cannot read all this information. So what you need to do if you have an app is that you need to drop that saturation. You need to bring it down somewhere here. What you might see is pink, but your camera actually reads it as red. Because it's like the bandwidth, the limitation of the camera readout. Our eyes are like 24-bit, 32-bit camera. Like your cameras are like 12-bit, 16-bit, like little computers. So they cannot read all that information. If you're shooting for video or for film, do not fully saturate your lights. But you're doing it live on stage. Your lights can be as saturated as they want. But if it's for capture, you need to desaturate your light, which means introducing a bit of whites. Yep.
Does it mean that means how we record the camera that we record with like 10-bit, etc., all those also start to play a part?
Yes, generally, if you're talking about something like 709 format, or if you go something that is a bit higher, like RAW, for example, yes, it does help, but still, just to be on the safe side, we usually don't fully saturate the colors. Otherwise, you'll create bending. Your whites should still be whites. Yeah.
Does it mean the phone camera normally will because phone cameras are mostly digital, so does it mean that whatever that we just heard, right, actually the phone camera doesn't help that much when it comes to playing around with color lights and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's actually the limitation of digital sensors to begin with, whether it's on the camera or on the phone, to be very honest with you. So just take note of that. Yeah, I mean, if it's live actual performance, I mean, our eyes can see that saturation is not a problem. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Okay, give me a second. I'll come to you. Yeah. Okay.
Is there any general rule of thumb when it comes to lighting up different people with different skin tones, for example?
You asked a perfect question. I was really hoping someone asked that. So this also applies to people from different skin tones. People with a darker skin tone can take more light. Someone who is very fair and Caucasian should put less light to get the same exposure. Does it make sense to you? Right? Just like a darker background and a white backgrounds, which is why if your room is white, it is one of the hardest environments to light because you put one light in there, it's like, what? I'm like literally I have a halo around me. Make sense? So actually, if you can, try to stay away from, you could paint it gray. I think gray is nice. Gray is interesting. Gray is an interesting color where you put white on it, gray becomes white. If you take light away from a gray wall, it goes black. But anything that's white, just think of it as like it's one giant reflective board, right? It's very difficult to control. If your wall is colored, you should also be careful because if you put any light on that colored wall, that color is going to come back onto your subject. So in that sense, what you can do is you try to control the intensity of the light, how much light you're putting on that colored wall, and how far your subject is sitting away from that wall. The distance helps as well. Okay. Any other questions? And then we're gonna jump straight to the musician. Any other questions? Okay. We're gonna move very quickly. Okay. So we're gonna show you, right. The first look that we are going for. First, let's look in the room. We're gonna do this look that we're creating is a standard 3-point lighting look. There are some limitations to it. Keep in mind that the 3-point doesn't work if your subject is walking around. All right, if it's walking around. Second, 3-point lighting doesn't really work if you're lighting for a group of people. Right? I think we just chose to make it a bit easier. It's one person. It's not. It's static, and we're just lighting for that one person. We're gonna move the lights around, and then Mark is gonna help me with it. Okay, so before we do that, first we're gonna look at the lights that we can control and the lights that we cannot control. So obviously, everything on the Sidus Link app are lights that you can control. If you look around the room, if you want to be able to fully control your image, it's what lighting people call like a white piece of paper. If I want to start on a white piece of paper, what's the first thing that you do? Exactly, right? So you off as much lights as you can because there are the ones you have to control and the ones that you cannot control. So, so I'm going to kill all the lights. Okay. So this is like your base image already. What do you see? This is your base image. There's still quite some of these lights that are over here. Let's say, because we want to start as close as we can to a white piece of paper, can I request, make maybe unfair request? Could we try turning off the track lights in the middle where the front audience are sitting? Let's see whether we can turn it off. Let's say if you cannot turn this off, what you can do is to play with your camera settings, right? To reduce the light. You could also put an ND filter. You know what an ND filter is? ND filter? Okay, ND filter, for the uninformed, is like putting sunglasses on your camera. It blocks out the light without changing your camera settings. Okay, so let's say, just this one. Yeah. Okay, so of course, if this was your bedroom, I mean, the task is going to be a lot easier. Like you're just going to be able to black everything out. Like I said, the reason why we're doing this is we just want to, we want to start as close as we can to a white piece of paper. And then for the second look, we're going to have the lights back on. What do you do when you have lights that you are not in control of? Okay, you getting there? Okay, nice. Okay, now this is your image. If you look at it. So there's lights coming from the TV, right? And any other light sources that you see inside your frame? If you look at it. Okay, the mixer, okay. Mixer lights. And then you've got some in the audience. Can that camera maybe zoom a little bit? That would be one way of cheating. Can it zoom a little bit more onto, sorry, I didn't get your name.
Yu Hsi.
Okay.
Yu Hsi. Yu Hsi. Why you?
Okay, could we try if Are we on a prime or a zoom? Okay. Okay. So this is really cheating, right? Because we got one whole bunch of audience that's picked up. Okay, so we want to put the focus on her, right? Zooming in, just trying to isolate, her away from these subjects. Okay. All right. I would turn off this television, if I can, right? Okay, and then we're going to start from there. Okay, so first, let's start by adding a key light there, right? Because right now she looks like she's in the dark, very obviously. So we'll put a light source in front of her. So Mark, is there a reason why you've moved the light with the softbox, and why the light is not maybe in front or any other places? What do you look for?
I look for a softer light, so I move the softbox closer to her so that it's more nicer.
So keep in mind that depending on where the subject is sitting, if the light is more towards the side, you will have shadows on one side of her face. The closer it is to the center, especially when you're using a soft light, the light tends to wrap a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to use the app. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm sure they'll get they'll sort out the. If we could just switch off the TV, can you actually see that this TV actually is? Oh, sorry. Can you actually see that there was some light from the TV that is actually spilling onto her face? Actually, you don't want that, or maybe you can add that in later. But at least from where we are working, we don't actually want that. Okay. Okay, I'm putting pressure on the city music guys. Okay. Can we get the frame back on this other TV so that we can look at it? Okay, so we're gonna turn on the light. One more thing also is when you are operating light stands, please observe safety when it comes to this equipment. Ask you a quick question now. When you're setting up light and it needs to go high, right? You notice there's 1 column, 2 column, 3 columns. Which column do you raise first? Okay, thicker one. And it's wrong. You always raise the top column first. Because when this goes up, if you raise this one up, then then what happens when your columns are all up there? So we always raise the top column. Okay? So this is just a very standard light stand. Okay? One more thing also is especially when the light has some kind of modifier, something heavy in front of it, it's always good practice to make sure that it has because the light stand has 3 legs on the floor, right, to help it balance. When you have a modifier sticking out from one particular side, it's always a good idea to have a leg underneath that modifier. Is safety. You can see, right, when you get to something like this stand that's in the back, it's still relatively quite stable. I think, Mark, you can try going back to maybe just shake it a little bit. Right? So this is the one behind is what we call a C stand. Right? The C stand has a light stand component and it has an arm component. The arm allows it to boom the light out without the stand appearing in frame. Okay? And if later, up when we are done with the session, you can actually see that one of its leg is right underneath, the light itself. It's for safety purposes. Okay? So when you're operating the light stand itself, just take note there's some, and I mean we can go even further. Some people put a sandbag. They don't have a sandbag, they put a 1.5 liter water bottle. They put it here or here makes a difference. Right? Here, lower center of gravity. Again, coming back to safety. Okay? And we can talk about how many lights you can put into the outlet. You can't be plugging this forever. Okay, anyway, I talk too much. My wife always says I talk too much. Oh shit, my wife is in the crowd today. Wife? Hello? Hey. Sorry, slip of tongue, say too fast. Then I forgot my wife is in the crowd today. Okay. Oh, tonight is sleeping on the sofa. Oh, okay. Can we get the image back up? Okay, we're gonna let you play very soon, okay, you see. Okay. So we're gonna turn on the light. Oh, sorry, wrong one. And generally it's before you turn on the light, it's good practice to say striking or any kind of warning, to the person before you turn the light. And make sure that light is actually communicated to a person. Imagine if the person that was playing here was like, I don't know, Lee Hsien Long. Okay. Okay, I'm going to turn on the light, yeah. Okay, now we're going to bring it up. Yes, Mark, yeah. You're going to turn on the light, striking, yeah. and we're going to set it to 5600 Kelvin. Okay, I'm not saying that it should be 5600 Kelvin, but I'm just saying this is a good starting point. Okay, whatever it is, you need to understand that your eyes actually see one thing, but the cameras actually see it differently. So wherever possible, always take reference from what the camera sees, not what your eyes see. Okay, can we get the image up on the camera? Okay, okay. So yeah, because we need the image to make changes and adjustments for it. Okay, so what, Mark? Can you tell us a little bit? Sorry, I cut you off just now. Okay, so you have the light almost like 45 degrees to camera right, right? We always use that camera left, camera right. Tell us a little bit why you have it here.
I think because musician, it's not like news or something. I want a little bit of flare, so I want the light to be stronger on one side, so that there will be a shadow on the other side. Or the other side, maybe I can run some RGB so that it has another interesting feel to it, so that we can create some interesting stuff lah. It's not the straightforward stuff. So it's my idea for a musician. Yeah, that's my idea.
Okay. So and also just to add, I mean, this is the most common kind of setup that you have. It's just lighting her, right? Responsible. If you look closely at her eyes itself, you can see that the softbox acts this what we call it eye light. The eye light is also dependent on the type of softbox that you have. Now we talk a little bit about the softbox. There's a reason why we use a round softbox for lighting human portraits. We use a more rectangular softbox if we are lighting for food, because it's replicating a window light, right? Softbox, small and big makes a difference. Big softbox gives you, it wraps around the subject a lot more. It's softer, but it takes up more space in the room. So think about it. You can use a smaller softbox, but the light tends to be a little bit harder. And if you're putting it on the side, one side of your face tends to be more contrasty, right? Just to give you an idea. Okay, okay, great. Thanks. Now we have the image back. Okay, look at the image itself. Tell me, like, what you guys feel about the image? Is it too bright, too dim? What do you see in the frame itself? How do you tell it's too bright? Okay, the whites are blown out. Yeah, exactly. So you look at the face. So what our friends is saying here is that you look at the brightest part of the image. If you see that the detail is gone already, you need to bring it down. That's the first thing. Assuming that you cannot change anything of your camera. Generally, lighting people stay away from the camera, right? The camera fixes its setting, especially it's for video, and the lighting will try to compensate around it. So let's bring the lighting down. Okay, so we'll bring it down to 40%. Are you all happy with this? How do you tell whether you're happy with it or not? You can see the detail on her face already. Okay, so you want to ask me for a magic number. We don't have a magic number. You just look at the image, and just now it was like this. Just now it was like this, right? And then we bring it down enough. I'm looking at this particular area because that seems to be where the highlight is. And I'll just use the iPad. I'll bring it down until it looks more reasonable. Okay, I'm happy with this already. Okay, Mark, what's next?
I think the other tips that I use for this too, I'm not okay. Sorry, because we all look at different screens, right? So sometimes your screen might look different from my screen, and the camera screen might look different from the monitor screen. So how do we determine whether the face is too bright or not, right? So sometimes we can look at the graph. If you look at the graph, so the face is actually the red channel. So the red channel should be, I think for editing stuff, I think should be around 90. I think anything more than 90 should be quite dangerous. I think that is how I gauge. So I will say, I will look at my graphs, the red channel on the face, nothing more than 90 should be a good one. So what's our advice?
Wow, chim and Mark. Okay, Mark is talking about exposure. There are a few ways, scientific and non-scientific way of looking at it. So the way by looking by eye is not very scientific, but it's a good starting point. We always say everything is a good starting point. There are other functions in your camera. Nowadays, there's so many functions like zebras. Anyone knows zebras here? Right? You see the brightest part, you can set the zebra levels, right? You can set it at 70, 80%. Once you start seeing zebras, when you turn on that function, right, you see these little stripes like zebra, right? It's telling you that that part is, the detail is gone already. You need to bring the light back down. You can look at waveforms. You can look at RE. Anyway, this is not about that. I think we need to bring the softbox up a little bit. One thing I cannot stand, and I think for most of you out there is, boleh tahan. If the image are not level, I cannot. Anything that's in frame, I must get rid of it. I'm surprised no one said it yet. So let's get the softbox out of frame as well. Okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it that way. Okay. Save. Okay. Then usually the camera operator will save because the lighting guy cannot see the image. So when he's moving up and down, then the camera operator needs to communicate like, okay, save. Frame line. Save. Okay. Okay. Now we're happy with it. Okay. Cool. What's next? We're doing 3-point lighting. We've done the key. Okay. Fill. Okay. All right. Fill light means usually involves a second light source. The fill doesn't always have to come from. Let me put it this way. The fill doesn't always have to come from this side. A backlight can be a fill as well. A fill doesn't always have to be a light source. Doesn't always need to be. What am I saying? The fill doesn't always have to be a LED light pointing at the person. It could be a reflected source. So in an image like this, actually my fill lights, I want to lift the ambient of the room. The room looks very dark. It looks very moody. And this is probably a lot. I think a lot of the creators know to put this first light. The second light, they're wondering, how do I elevate this image? Look at the entire room. Doesn't it feel quite moody, quite dark? So how you can actually lift what we call the ambient of the room is by bouncing a light. And because of that bounce light, remember I said soft light spreads everywhere. And this is that kind of situation where you need that spread. You want to raise the entire ambient of the room. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, and usually when a light is being bounced, right, you need something that is kilat, something that's strong. Because it's going through one layer and then it's coming back onto her. So usually what I'll do is I'll find the strongest light. So Mark, sorry, this is unrehearsed. We're gonna take a bounce. So the strongest light you have in the room is the 300 watt. This is the one in the back. In the back. By the way, City Music is selling it, and it comes in white. Woo! Actually, it comes in 3 colors. It's white, space gray, and black. And this one can change color, or even more kilat. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, okay, it's in frame, don't Mark. I think we need to. Okay, keep going. I'll shout to you. Not safe. Keep going. Safe. Okay. The reason why we just want to keep it out of the frame is we don't want to lose too much power. He walked too far away already, right? Okay, he's very safe, but the light's gone already. There's no more light left already. So we just want it outside our frame. So, okay, I'm gonna take that light, and I'm gonna turn it up. Striking. Yep. Watch your eyes. And I'm gonna set it just for kickers. 5600. Okay, so this is fully maxed out. And you see the beauty about having the app is you can turn it. I'm sorry, I realize I'm quite an eyesore. Okay, so let me get this out of the image. Okay, over here. Okay, the beauty about using the next to the speaker. Yeah, the beauty about having the app itself is that you can turn the light on and off and see what it does for your image. Can you see? Off. On, off, on. So it lifts, the idea is that it lifts the entire room. It doesn't feel that moody anymore. Okay? Right? So far, so good? You like it? No? Too strong. Okay, very good, why do you find it's too strong? Can you see that there's almost this halo on the edges? Yeah, that's where you tell it's a bit too bright. So we need to dim it down, okay? So I'll dim until you tell me it's okay, right? So now I'm at 100, 90, 80, no one, 70, 60, 50. Hey, I'll keep going and no one says stop. 40. Okay, you're happy with this? Okay, y'all like it? Very simple. If you're not sure, it's not rocket science. Just use the app. Off, on, off, on. Okay? You happy with it? Okay? And let's say if you want to change up the mood, this light very kilat, can add color. Yeah. Got mood already, yeah. So remember I said already, color. Color actually creates that mood. So, but every time you use color on RGB light, it will be weaker. The 40% on the blue is not the same as the 40% on daylight. So I need to compensate. So if I want to wash it out a lot more, I need to make it brighter. And also you can play around with the position. Yeah. Okay. Play around with the position. Okay. It almost feels like one of those like a New York jazz club. You know, every time I think blue and image, you know, musician, I think of like a New York jazz club. Not that I've ever been there, but you know, yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'll go back to. I just want to show you the possibility. Okay. So back to 40%. Okay. Yep. Now we got a really nice clean image. 3-point lighting, 1, 2, and then maybe we have one more light. A backlight. Okay, very good. Yeah, hairlight. Yeah, hairlight, rim light, backlight, third light. The list goes. Okay, so what do you think? What would be a good third light that you think? Yeah, it could be this. Okay, so. Mark's going to help us swing it into position. This light makes a lot of difference. I would say to the point where it makes the image go from good to wow. Okay? So just be careful. What we want to do is, what Mark is actually trying to do is that he's trying to swing it to the back of her hair and actually tilt it a little bit so that he's actually just hitting her from the back instead of something that is very top down. When you have a light that is directly on top down a person, you're gonna have this hollowing effect underneath the nice eyes because it's right above and then there's a bit of hollowing of the eyes. So usually if you're doing like a musician and you're putting a backlight, it's a good idea to have it slightly behind her and then maybe angle it down a little. Do you notice that there's something on the softbox itself? Do you know what that is? This thing, this fabric like thing. No, it's not a diffuser. Anyone else? You see this? Oh, okay. Who said it crate? Okay, well done. Okay, round of applause. Come on. Some encouragement, guys. Okay, 5 p.m. crowd. We're all okay. But okay, it's called honeycomb. People call it egg crate. What it does essentially is it lets the light only go forward. Without the egg crate, the lights tends to go all over the place. When you put the egg crate on it, only those light that goes in front are still on, right? It eliminates the light that's going left and right, which is what we want. That hair light purpose is to, like I said, isolate the subject from everywhere else. So let's turn it on. Okay, striking. Oops, sorry. Oh, it's not on yet. Yes, it's still safe. Okay, so I'm going to set it to 3200 Kelvin. Turn the light on. Okay. Can you see? The beauty of backlight now. In fact, in cinema and film, backlight is one of the most important light. They don't even care about key because light is just bouncing all over the place, right, on real life locations. But once you put a backlight, you go from good to kilat, like wow, high production value. Okay, and that's it. We can dial it in like super strong, almost like but like I said, highlight I think should be reasonably balanced. Okay, off, on, off, on. And for the sake of interest, just because like this is almost like just because we can, we just make the image a bit more interesting. We already have the tubes in the back. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add, because to make the image in the background, because I think she's beautifully lit, but you got to care about your background, your foreground, and your middle ground. You know, especially if you've really invested into a lighting system, you're wondering how you can spice up the image further. It's good to actually put a, I think some of you already probably have this. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the light. Okay, I found it already. This is actually a tube light. Can you all see in the back? Its main interest, its main idea is not actually to light her. is sort of to spice up the background. One thing about working with this kind of lights is that if this light is actually appearing in your frame, it needs to be dim enough. If it's too bright, the details will get blown. Make sense? Right? So we need this to be actually dim enough. So I'm going to dim this down. Okay, just here, just a little bit. You know that it's blown because you can't tell what color it is. It just looks white on camera, right? You bring it down until you can tell what color it is. That's the good intensity, okay? And then maybe, Mark, you think you could put one on the left, one on the right. Maybe we will put the horizontal one. So these tubes are in the back. They are held together by magnets, right? It's actually a steel. It's actually a steel surface that's on it. Okay, and I can use the app. Right, careful, Mark. Okay, I'm going to turn on. Okay, and let's say maybe we add different color, something a bit cooler. Dim it low enough. Okay, no. Okay, of course, I think the image can be prettier. It could be symmetrical. You know, what's left is also on the right. We can tidy up. But you guys happy with the image? Yeah? Like it? Anything else that you want to add or take away from it? But I hope you understand, as much as it is the final output and as much as it's the final output, I think the process of getting to this is also more important. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Okay. And then I think this is where we're going to let the musician finally play. You have something for us?
Yeah.
Is there a name for it?
It's called Battle of the Larynx by Melanie Martinez. It's like a short snippet of it, so just like the first verse and the chorus.
Okay, this is your 3 minutes of fame. Yeah. Here we go. Woo!
Guys, give it up for Yu Hsi, man.
Falling asleep at the arcade. Liquor jumps off the tongue. You used all your words for a quick game. Blew it all before you won. I'm speaking cursive, I'm poor and assertive. This musical chairs in my teeth. Poke me to battle, I jump on the saddle. Smile as I fall to your feet. And they talk without thinking, they bark while they're shaking. Teeth that are round and tall. And they yell while they're chasing, while I'm steady pacing. Syllables hit the floor. How stupid, selfish baby. Don't you battle with my larynx and I'll rack you if you chase me. But I'll be silent till you cross the line. The line, the line. Don't you battle with my larynx and so crude and selfish, baby. Don't you battle with my larynx and
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Yu Hsi, again for your performance. So that was essentially a culmination of all three aspects of the event that we've had today: video, lighting, audio. So hopefully all of you get a little bit inspired and know a little bit more from today. Any questions, always welcome to approach any of us, or you can find the respective people for video and lighting lah. Alright, thank you all for coming down today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming here. We'll see you again. We will be here lah. Thank you.